3 minutes remaining. Two minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Two minutes remaining. One minute, 30 seconds remaining. One minute remaining. Forty-five seconds remaining. Thirty seconds remaining. Fifteen seconds. Break ends in 5 seconds.
Listening to the Infinity Sports Network.
And welcome in. It's Ryan Hickey with you right here on the Infinity Sports Network. The two best words we could say in this lifetime. Happy Friday. Thank you for joining us right here on the show. Again, Ryan Hickey with you right here on the Infinity Sports Network. If you're a Bengals fan, it's probably not a good Friday for you. Because I think on Thursday, your franchise proved to everybody they're one of the most mismanaged organizations in all of football. What they are proving to be is the Dallas Cowboys of the AFC, which means that they are a top-heavy team that takes way too long to pay their stars, ends up overspending to keep them, making the rest of the roster weaker, leading them to not have the cap space they need in order to make improvements to the rest of the roster. Look at this offseason so far for Cincinnati. They dragged their feet last year in paying Jamar Chase what he should have gotten an extension, probably about $35 million. Well, now because they waited and Jamar Chase went out and had a triple crown season, guess what they're going to have to pay him this year? Probably around $40 million. An extra $5 million a year or so extra per year because they waited. They waited on T. Higgins. Tagged him for the second straight year. Guess what? If they get an extension done, that price only going up. The only guy they truly got right was Joe Burrow. And guess what? They're wasting it right now because they've been so slow in terms of paying other guys that they're wasting right now that contract by Burrow. Not using it the way a lot of other great teams do. This offseason, Cincinnati should be in a spot where they are using most of their cap space to fill the weaknesses and retool the weaknesses, which is their offensive line and really their entire defense. And allow Joe Burrow to have the support he needs to where another MVP season like he had in 2024 isn't wasted by missing the postseason. That's what they should be doing. And instead, what this offseason is already proving is that they are getting worse, not better, this offseason, and they are about to waste another year of Burrow's prime. The news we got on Thursday was that Trey Hendrickson, their all-pro defensive end, requested a trade, and the Bengals look like they're going to grant it. Hendrickson's on the last year of his deal. This is a guy who wants to stay in Cincinnati, who wanted to get paid last year. Guess what the Bengals said? No, we'll wait. What did he do then in that contract year? Went out, no big deal, just led the league in sacks at 17.5. And now guess what? The Bengals can't afford him. He's too pricey. He wanted to stay. They dragged their feet, and now he's too expensive. And it's not like, by the way, the Bengals have a star-studded defensive line where, okay, yeah, Hendrickson's obviously the main cog in the big name, but they got some good depth pieces and some other guys they believe in to where they can kind of afford to lose his production still be okay. They got nobody. This was a team last year in the Bengals that totaled 36 sacks. I just told you Hendrickson himself had 17.5. Do the math. That's essentially half of the sacks the Bengals had this season came from one guy. This was a team that finished in the NFL in terms of rankings 25th in sacks this year, and the next closest guy on the Bengals roster to Hendrickson's 17.5 sacks, yeah, he had 5. So now you're about to lose the best player on defense, the only guy that got any sort of pressure on the quarterback. But by the way, your defense was one of the worst in the league last year. You're missing your best piece because you waited to pay him instead of getting out ahead of it, seeing, yeah, actually, this guy's pretty good. I think he'll be good for another few years. Let's get out ahead of it now, pay him so that we could save some money in the future. By waiting, he's now too expensive. You can't afford him. This was preventable. And guess what the Bengals are doing? Paying the price. Does that sound familiar? Is that not the Dallas Cowboys who wait as long as possible to pay Dak Prescott, end up paying him more? Now, Dak is currently the highest paid quarterback in the league. Waiting on CeeDee Lamb. They're probably, no doubt about it, going to wait on Micah Parsons. And that price, by the way, only going up as we saw Max Crosby get paid. We'll probably see Myles Garrett get paid sooner rather than later. We'll probably see Trey Hendrickson get paid from some teams sooner rather than later. The longer the Cowboys wait, the higher the price goes up. That's what they do. That's also what the Bengals do. They are the Dallas Cowboys of the AFC. And they are now paying the price and seeing firsthand this offseason the price you pay for waiting to pay the most valuable players on your team. But it's one thing to wait and have to pay more. The other thing that to me is mind-boggling and why they are so mismanaged is the fact that they don't have their priorities in order. It's all out of whack. Take a listen to this from Ian Rappaport. He was on the NFL Network on Thursday afternoon. Listen to how he discussed the Bengals prioritizing some of the best players on their team.
This is the Bengals saying, love Trey Hendrickson, great player. His value is greater in a trade as opposed to Jamar Chase, T. Higgins, where they've made some level of progress trying to get them new deals. Their value is on the team. Hendrickson's value is not. Put it all together, and that'll be the Bengals who get on the field next season.
What? They're looking at their star-studded players and saying, Trey Hendrickson, a guy who had half of our sacks last year, the only guy worth talking about and keeping on the defense that stunk and let us miss in the playoffs, his best value to us is not on the team? And a guy in T. Higgins, his best value defensive end to me is mind-boggling, number one. Number two, let's also not forget, they're paying Jamar Chase sooner rather than later. You're already heavily investing in a position that is very replaceable at receiver. Why are you then going to double down at that position and pay T. Higgins along with paying Jamar Chase? How does that make sense? How is that what is best for the Cincinnati Bengals going forward? Again, we just saw them last year miss the postseason, not because their offense stunk, not because the passing game was inept, but because they couldn't block up front. They couldn't stop anybody defensively. They were one of the worst defensive teams in terms of yards per game allowed, points per game allowed. And they expect that to get better by trading Trey Hendrickson and keeping T. Higgins. Got it. Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. Again, it's not just that they're cheap, they're incompetent. They can't even figure out what position matters. What position makes sense for us to keep? What position makes sense for us to say, you know what? Maybe we shouldn't put all of our eggs in the wide receiver basket and give two receivers a probably combined $70 million. They're cheap and mismanaged. And the sad reality for the Bengals is their cheapness is now costing them talented players. Trey Hendrickson is an extremely talented player. I know it's just early right now, and we're going to see his market develop here over the next coming days and weeks. That's going to be a guy almost every single team is interested in. Because you look at edge rush, right? There are not that many great ones out there. He's one of the great ones. 3/4 of the league could use his services. So now you got him and Myles Garrett out there. The same teams involved in Garrett are going to be interested in Hendrickson. This is a guy who's been one of the most consistent defensive ends in all the NFL. Led the NFL in sacks last year. If you look at the last 2 years combined, he leads all the NFL in sacks. This guy consistently produces at a premier position. And they're going to say goodbye to him because they couldn't identify his talent early on and get a contract extension done early. And now with Joe Burrow, we talked about this yesterday. Joe Burrow, after week 18, pleading to the Bengals to keep the talented players in the house, not them out of the building. We are now seeing the first iteration of the Bengals letting an extremely talented player leave the building because they can't afford him, because they dragged their feet and didn't get a deal done earlier when they should have. That to me sounds exactly the Dallas Cowboys. And that's why the Bengals, to me, are the Cowboys of the AFC. That is very problematic. That is very concerning. And it's going to prevent them from really reaching their ultimate potential, which should be when you have Joe Burrow as your quarterback, you should be a Super Bowl contender every single year. They were nowhere close last year, and they seem to be nowhere close again as we kind of get set here and head slowly towards 2025. 855-212-4227. It is Ryan Hickey with right here on the Infinity Sports Network. I want to get your thoughts about that. When you look at Cincinnati and how they're handling their business, dragging their feet with Jamar Chase, tagging T. Higgins for the second straight year, and now about to trade one of the best edge rushers in all of football to seemingly pay two wide receivers, would you agree that the Cincinnati Bengals are one of the most mismanaged teams in all the NFL? I think they, to me, are number one in the AFC. There's no doubt about it. With what we're seeing right now in Cincinnati go down, where they made some right decisions and now are paying the price for some big wrong ones, they got the talent, can't keep them. That is as bad as mismanagement gets. If you disagree, 855-212-4227. 855-212-4227. You think there's a team right now more mismanaged than the Cincinnati Bengals? The number to call, 855-212-4227. You can also tweet me, Ryan_Hickey3 on Twitter. And also, for the second night in a row, how about this? We are streaming the show live on YouTube. So if you want to watch this show, you can just check out our Infinity Sports Network YouTube page. And not only can you watch, you can also comment there as well and read your thoughts about the Bengals and their mismanagement on the air as well. So plenty of ways to get involved with the show. Again, it is Ryan Hickey right here on the Infinity Sports Network. We're going to take a quick break, and when we return, to kind of keep this going here, to prove my point more about how mismanaged the Bengals are, I saw this stat that has to do with the Bengals and their inability to retain talent. I'll share that with you when we do return, because it is mind-blowingly bad. how they have botched basically everything around Joe Burrow. I'll give you that set when we do return. It is Ryan Hickey with you right here on the Infinity Sports Network.
You're in a 5-minute break. Four minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Four minutes remaining. Three minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Three minutes remaining. Two minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Two minutes remaining. One minute, 30 seconds remaining. One minute remaining. Forty-five seconds remaining. Thirty seconds remaining. Fifteen seconds. Break ends in 5 seconds.
Ideally, my wife and I would love to stay in Cincinnati. If it's something that helps the Bengals win a Super Bowl, if they get picks or anything like that, I want to help win a Super Bowl for Cincinnati if I'm there or not.
You're listening to the Infinity Sports Network.
It is Ryan Hickey with you right here on the Infinity Sports Network. That was just the voice of Trey Hendrickson, who's on the Pat McAfee show recently here, and he was talking about, number one, he wants to stay in Cincinnati. He made that clear this year. He made that clear last year. If you recall, he requested a trade last year in part because he wanted a contract extension. They didn't give it to him and basically said, look, you're going to play next year on your deal, and that's that. Didn't want to even entertain the thought of giving the man who deserves more money to keep him long-term. Trey Hendrickson wanted to stay in Cincinnati. They basically said, we'll see how this goes. Wait out, play on your deal. And now that he outperformed his deal with 1 year left, the writing's on the wall. This guy is going to become one of maybe right now, depending on what the number looks like, where he gets traded to, the highest paid non-quarterback in NFL history. We just saw Max Crosby reset it at $35.5 million. Maybe Trey, because he's 30 years old, doesn't get to that number, but he's going to come damn close. 33, 34 a year. The guy is consistent. He plays, even though he is 30. He has shown zero signs right now of slowing down. That's a guy I would absolutely pay. That's a guy I didn't understand why the Bengals didn't pay this time last year. And because they waited, because he balled out, and now because his price is only going up, the Bengals have no choice but to trade him because they can't afford him, because on top of paying him, they have to pay Jamar Chase. They want to pay T. Higgins. They want to keep Mike Gesicki. And so now they have to make difficult choices because they mismanaged their roster and did not think ahead and say, you know what? This guy's good. He's only going to get better. Let's sign him now and get in while it's still cheap. That's what great organizations do. The Bengals are not a great organization, and we are seeing that now play out right in front of us. It sucks. I feel so bad for Joe Burrow. He deserves better, but right now what he's seeing is some of the most talented players on his team leave the building. And so at 855-212-4227, 855-212-4227, I want to discuss with you, now that you're seeing the Bengals right now unable to keep one of the most talented players at a position of need on the side of the ball where they desperately need good players on defense. With Trey Hendrickson all but gone from Cincinnati, are you looking at the Bengals right now as the most mismanaged team in the AFC? If you think there's a worse team off right now than Cincinnati, 855-212-4227. There's a team that, as the cool kids say, fumbled the bag. Worse than the Bengals. 855-212-4227. You can also tweet me, Ryan_Hickey3 on Twitter. So I told you there's a stat out there that highlights their incompetency. Warren Sharp put this out here. He does a great job covering the NFL. He tweeted that both the Bengals and Eagles extended their quarterbacks in 2023, right? Jalen Hurts and obviously Joe Burrow. Since those quarterback extensions happened in 2023, 2 off seasons ago, the Bengals have signed one player to a contract over $40 million. That is Logan Wilson, a linebacker. Conversely, the Eagles, who gave Jalen Hurts a very similar contract to Joe Burrow, they have signed 8 different players to contracts worth over $40 million. Some of those names: Saquon Barkley, A.J. Brown, Devontae Smith, Zach Bond, Lane Johnson. They have spread the wealth to important positions all throughout the roster, and they have been able to manage the cap, but also get out ahead of things as well to make sure that they have cap flexibility to pay some of the best players on their roster and also improve weaknesses. 2 franchises that paid their quarterbacks similar money at the exact same time. One can't figure it out in the Bengals, who now can't spend any money. The other in the Eagles continue to add talented player after talented player. That right there should show you the difference between a true Super Bowl contending team in Philly and a team right now that is just blowing it in the Bengals. 855-212-4227. It's just embarrassing. Now, that number is going to go up because they're going to sign Jamar Chase, so that number is going to go to 2. Maybe if they re-sign T. Higgins, it's going to go to 3. But again, look at how well the Eagles have been able to manage things versus how badly the Bengals have fumbled their roster since extending Joe Burrow. It's as a non-Bengals fan even, it is frustrating to watch because this should be the time you're capitalizing. Your Super Bowl window is open right now. You got there 3 years ago, and you have not come close in the last 2 years and seemingly continue to go backwards. That's why I think, to me, they're the Cowboys of the AFC. 855-212-4227. 855-212-4227. Let's go to Tarpley calling from Dallas, who's speaking of thing, knows a thing or two about fumbling the bag. What's up, Tarpley?
Yo, we live right now.
We are live, sir.
Yeah, they definitely fumbled the bag. Terrible. But see, my thing is they were never a Super Bowl contending team anyway. They've always been good.
Who are you talking about, Tarpley?
The Cincinnati Bengals.
They went to the Super Bowl 3 years ago in the AFC title game 2 years ago and lost in overtime.
But
what are you talking about?
It's Cincinnati.
Yeah,
it's Cincinnati. They
got there. How can they have a top 3 quarterback in the league? They got there 3 years ago and got to the doorstep 2 years ago. Yeah, but look at the decisions that they're making now. That just goes to show, like, they aren't. If you did this 2-3 years ago, then you will be paying the right players. You know what I'm saying? At the right positions to continue to grow as an organization. That's something that they're not doing. The proof is in the pudding. They showing that they cannot manage a team. They fumbling the bag. And yeah, they got the best quarterback in the NFL right now, but defense wins championships. I appreciate the call, Tar, but I would still not go that far in terms of defense winning championships. It helps, and you need a good defense, no doubt about it. You also need some good playmakers, and you need a lot. I think you just need a great team, period. I don't think one side of the ball wins you a Super Bowl. You need a great offense or a great defense. As Philly showed you, as the Chiefs have showed you, you need both. So I think you need balance, and I think we eventually, seemingly, came around after that just ridiculous. The Bengals are never close to a Super Bowl contender despite going 3 years ago. Anyway, once we got past that, you came around and it sounds like you agree, and that's like the point I'm making. They were right there. They were 2 plays away, you could argue, from winning the Super Bowl 3 years ago. They were, I think it was the right call, but one questionable penalty away from beating the Chiefs in Arrowhead for the second consecutive year in the AFC title game and getting back to the Super Bowl. And now, ever since that in 2022, they have come nowhere close to knocking back on that door. They've missed the playoffs now 2 years in a row. I get it. Okay, Joe Burrow got hurt 2 years ago and, really barely played. So fine. That's a wash. But now he was fully healthy last year, had the best year of his career, and you still missed the postseason. And now, coming off of that year, we're talking about a team that is getting, again, worse, that is going backwards. They're putting it in reverse. The Lombardi's straight ahead. They're backing up. They're getting out of town. They're letting other teams pass them, despite having a top 3 quarterback in all of the NFL. It is such a waste. It is such a waste. TJ Johnston does tweet at Ryan_Hickey and the number 3. The Bengals are not the Cowboys of the AFC. They are the Chicago Bears of the 2000s of the AFC. I guess different side of the ball. Right? The Bears always had that great defense with Brian Urlacher, Lance Briggs, you name it, Peanut Tillman, right? And their offense is the problem, led by many quarterbacks, probably most notably Rex Grossman. That's fair. Again, I guess different, reverse here. The Bengals offense is elite. The defense stinks. Obviously, for the Bears, it's reverse, but it's a good comp. That's a good comp by TJ. But it's just the reason why I say, to me, it's the Cowboys of the AFC is because we have now seen the Cowboys in the last few years when it's obvious they're going to pay CeeDee Lamb, obvious they're going to pay Dak Prescott, obvious in this case they need to pay Micah Parsons, they wait. Obvious a few years ago when they wanted to pay Zeke Elliott. Like, these are all, okay, yeah, no-brainers, you pay those guys. But because they wait so long, because they let other teams pay similar players at similar positions, thus upping the price, they end up overspending to the point where we are looking at Dak Prescott currently right now as the highest paid quarterback in the league. His play says he's nowhere near that. But because Dallas dragged their feet, because they didn't get this done 2 years ago, and other quarterbacks, Joe Burrow, Jalen Hurts, Patrick Mahomes is restructured, Josh Allen's because other quarterbacks get paid, that price only goes up to where Dak said, I'm only signing to be the highest paid guy. So the Cowboys put themselves in a corner where they had no choice but to pay Dak Prescott the highest salary of a quarterback. And now we're looking at the same thing here for Cincinnati, where I don't understand the justification for them for not paying Jamar Chase a few years ago. Last year. He was one of the best receivers in the league then. You knew there's no way you're going to get rid of not only Joe Burrow's buddy, but still one of the most talented receivers in the league. Yet, all offseason, they could not get a deal done. They go into this season having basically say to Jamar, prove it. He did it. Leading the league in catches, yards, and touchdowns. And now all of a sudden they have no choice. They're over a barrel and forced to pay Jamar Chase probably the highest and make him the highest paid non-quarterback in NFL history. And that number could easily start with a 4. They could have saved themselves over the course of a deal $25, $30 million by paying him last year. But they waited. Now they're paying the price. Waited on T. Higgins. They want to extend him. Paying the price. Waited on Trey Hendrickson. Now they're going to lose him. At least you're keeping Jamar Chase. You're paying more, but at least you're keeping him. You are now losing one of the best edge rushers in all the NFL. 855-212-4227. It, to me, is Cowboys-esque. Wait and get punished. Let's go to Marty calling from Buffalo. What's up, Marty?
I think the Bills should go after Trey Hendrickson.
I agree. I think you should go after Myles Garrett as well and try to get one of the two. I totally agree. If they need an...
Because he's only making this year between 18 and 19 million. So if the Bills make the trade, give him our first, a third, and Quadri Elam. And then when he gets in, give him a 3-year contract. The third year is like optional, or however he worked that. And give him 28, 29 million, 30 million.
Got some GM in you. I agree.
Well, that's why they call him Brandon Bean. He's a bean counter.
I never heard that one before, Marty. I appreciate the call. You're right about that. Like this, I agree with you. This has to be the offseason. This has to be the move where Brandon Bean finally makes a big splash. He's been conservative. They made the Stephon Diggs trade a few years ago. That, for the most part, worked out in their favor. You can't do basically what is the equivalent of a Von Miller trade again or signing again. Where you bring Von Miller in, he's on the back end of his career. It's a big name, though, so people get excited. The production does not match the name that you think he brings. He's hurt a little bit, and he never pans out. You got to go all in here and get a guy right now in the prime of his career. Trey Hendrickson fits that. Myles Garrett fits that as well. The Bills have to take a swing here. I don't think if I was them, I would go receiver and try to get in the T. Higgins market if he's on the trade block, or the DK Metcalf market as well. I would push my chips in and go all in on getting a defensive end. I'm with you 1,000,000%, Marty. This has to be the offseason. If they truly want to get over the hump, we talked about it last night as well, with I think some legitimate concerns about the Chiefs' offensive line. Now that they traded Joe Thuney, you can get Trey Hendrickson, who's just like a magnet to the quarterback. You can get Myles Garrett to Buffalo, who's just an overpowering force, and pick on a left side of the Chiefs' offensive line that is going to be patchwork next year. You've never had a chance if you're Buffalo, or I should say that will be your best chance to finally take down the Chiefs and beat them in the playoffs. That's the move. There's no excuse for them not to make it. Marty, I'm with you 1,000,000%. 855-212-4227. Drew is calling from Atlanta. What's up, Drew?
Hey, what's going on, man? How you doing?
Good, buddy. What's on your mind?
Real quick, what you were saying about the Bengals, man, about Joe Burrow, I feel like it ain't nothing that he can do about it. It's the organization. It reminds me when Stafford was in Detroit.
Mm-hmm.
Good team, year and out. He balled out, but the team's not going to do what they need to do to get that man where he needs to be. So, I just scratched. Joe Burrow's going to exceed when he leaves Cincinnati. As far as the Chiefs and the Bills, which I was just talking about, as long as the Chiefs got a decent team, man, it just comes to me a quarterback play. Mahomes, I feel, will always outplay Josh Allen no matter what time of year it is. So as long as the Chiefs stay a contending team, I don't think Josh Allen can beat them.
Well, I mean, Josh Allen's not been the problem, Drew, and thanks for the call. Like, you look at these games, really outside of maybe the first time they played in the AFC title game, that was, I think, 2020. Josh Allen did not have a great game, and Sean McDermott did not have a very good, did not coach very well in that game either. But, like, the three matchups since, Josh Allen's not been the problem. He's been the only reason why the Bills have been close in these games. It's not like, as long as Patrick Mahomes is there, Josh Allen's never going to outplay him. That's not the case. That's just not factual. It's the rest of the team, whether it's the defense, whether it's the running game, whether it's the play calling. Like, there seems to be something different every single year for Buffalo that costs them when they play Kansas City. And it's not like Mahomes has exactly lit it up the last two times, last year in Buffalo and this year at home in the AFC title games. He's not throwing for 350 yards and 4 touchdowns in these games. They're getting it done by playing great defense and making the winning play. That's the area with an issue with Buffalo. I think a lot of that has to do with coaching as well, not just the players on the field. The coaches not putting them in the right position to succeed as well. Buffalo's got some issues. I think a lot of those issues are solved if you can get a guy like Trey Hendrickson, if you can get a guy like Myles Garrett on your team next season. That puts the Bills, I think, in the best spot they've been in since getting Josh Allen to finally take down the Chiefs and make a Super Bowl. 855-212-4227. That is the number to call. Also can tweet me, Ryan_Hickey3 on Twitter, as we do discuss, is there a team right now in the AFC, in the NFL, if you will, that is more mismanaged than the Cincinnati Bengals? 855-212-4227. We'll continue to get your thoughts here. And also, when we return, we had a big game in the NBA. I know few regular season games matter anymore. I thought this game mattered for the New York Knicks. They fell to the Lakers in overtime. I'll tell you why this loss truly proved the disappointment that I think the Knicks have been. We'll get to that after we get the latest sports update from Marco Belletti.
Infinity Sports Network Sports Flash.
And Ryan, we're sponsored by Progressive Insurance. Your small business keeps you on the go. Progressive Commercial Insurance keeps your policy within reach with our easy-to-use mobile app. Learn more at progressivecommercial.com. Trey Hendrickson's looking to get paid, and for the second straight year, he's requested a trade. The Bengals this time giving him permission to do so. 30-year-old has 35 sacks the last 2 years, more than any other player in the NFL. Texans have acquired wideout Christian Kirk from the Jaguars in exchange for a 7th rounder. Jacksonville also saved nearly $6 million on the cap, releasing 2-time Pro Bowl tight end Evan Ingram. 10-time Pro Bowler, 13-year vet Bobby Wagner back to Washington on a 1-year deal after he posted a team-best 132 tackles, helping the Commanders in their turnaround. Browns saved $36 million on the cap, restructure the contract for Deshaun Watson, who's expected to miss significant time this year after he tore his Achilles twice. NBA, 8 straight wins for the Lakers, survived the Knicks 113-109 in overtime. Luka Doncic, 32 points, 12 assists. LeBron James, 32 and 12 rebounds. Knicks also lost Jalen Brunson to an ankle injury in overtime after he put up 39. Meanwhile, Kobe White, a big night for the Bulls.
Kobe walks over the midcourt line. Kobe has been the main man tonight, no question. Kobe White driving right angle, flips it up and in with the right hand, off the window. The Magic simply cannot compete with Kobe White, who has 44.
Kobe White finished with those 44. Bulls outlast the Magic 125-123. Call courtesy of the Bulls Radio Network. Elsewhere, the Celtics dominate the Sixers 123-105 behind 35 from Jason Tatum, while Steph Curry put on a show in Brooklyn.
Steph will throw it in. And looking around, hands it in to Draymond Green. Almost got away from him. Draymond to Steph. Corner 3 in the air. Boom-cheese-de-mo! Boy, and he does the all night-night. Buenas noches, Brooklyn.
40 points in all for Steph Curry. Warriors rallied from 22 down. They upend the Nets 121-119. Call courtesy of the Warriors Radio Network. Rest of your scores, the Rockets too much for the Pelicans, 109-97. And the Hawks got 22 points and 16 assists from Trae Young. They dumped the Pacers 124-118. College hoops, just one game, top 25. 8th-ranked Michigan State rallied by Iowa 91-84. I'm Marco Belletti.
Hey, sports fans, it's Andrew Perloff here on the Infinity Sports Network. Check us out 24/7 on your local affiliate or on the Odyssey app. Download it today.
You're in a 5-minute break. Four minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Four minutes remaining. Three minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Three minutes remaining. Two minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Two minutes remaining. One minute, 30 seconds remaining. One minute remaining. 45 seconds remaining. Seconds remaining. Fifteen seconds. Break ends in 5 seconds.
You're in the right place. The Infinity Sports Network.
It is Ryan Hickey with you right here on the Infinity Sports Network. A happy Friday to you. Thank you for joining us right here on the show. It was not a very happy Friday morning here for yours truly as a Knicks fan. Now, it was a good game back and forth. They played a big-time game against the Lakers, fall in overtime, 113-109. I think you can go one of two ways here. Either talk about Luka and LeBron, who both go over 30 again, and the partnership's only getting better. Lakers win a big game, continuing to surge as now we kind of go into the home stretch here of the regular season. But for me, this game is about the Knicks. And you saw tonight, I mean, not that it was, you knew it before going in, but I thought the reasons why were on full display tonight as to why the Knicks are not a championship contender. And the biggest reason is they don't have a second reliable scorer that can help go deep, that help you go deep in the postseason. Like, again, we've come into a point in the NBA where you need to do a lot of things well. You need to defend well. You need to shoot the three well. You need to rebound well. Like, it's not just, simply who has the best duo in the NBA, and that's all you need, right? There was a time where that was the case. Not anymore. You do need a well-rounded team. But with that said, I think the Knicks are pretty well-rounded for the most part. They sorely miss a second reliable scorer outside of Jalen Brunson. They thought it was going to be Karl Anthony Towns when they traded for him. And tonight was like the exact reason when you see of why he's not and why, honestly, it's so maddening, so frustrating. Because Jalen Brunson did all he could do. He was outstanding in this game. Finished the game 39 points on 13 of 26 shooting. He gets hurt in overtime, rolls his ankle. Chris Haynes has reported of Yahoo Sports that the belief is that Brunson only sprained his ankle. Now, again, we know, right, there's different levels of a sprained ankle. Could he be out 3 weeks? Could he be out 6 weeks? That has not been determined yet, but at least early on, it seems like it was a pretty nasty twist that it's not broken, which obviously is a good thing for the Knicks and for Jalen Brunson. But once he goes out in overtime, there's no one else the Knicks go to. You know, it's not Uji Anunoby. It's not Josh Hart. It's definitely not Karl Anthony Towns, who finished this game 3 of 13 from the field. And it's not even the fact that he just missed a ton of shots. Again, guys have off nights. You live with it. It's not the misses that bother me. It's the fact that he tries to have this persona that he's a star player and he's the guy. He wants the ball in the big moment. And then that moment arrives and he's nowhere to be found. He disappears on the offensive end and the defensive end. You can't find him anywhere. Again, with Jalen Brunson out in the locker room getting evaluated in overtime, this guy, you can't even find him on the court. He's hiding. He's a total non-factor. But it's not just that. It's also the fact that even defensively, he's a sieve. Guy's 7 feet, but he plays like he's 5'11". There were some huge rebounds in this game on the defensive end for the Knicks that he could not corral, that gave the Lakers second and third opportunities to claw back, take a lead, cut into a lead, tie the game. It's like he has all that size, all that skill, and all he wants to do is sit outside the three-point line and shoot threes. That's not what the Knicks want you to do. That's not what makes you a great player. I was listening to a lot of this game, at home and then coming here as well. So I listened to a lot of Candace Parker. I thought she did a great job. But in the first half, I thought she was spot on. She's basically saying, like, Karl Anthony Towns can't be sitting on the three-point line shooting threes. He's at his best when he's cutting to the basket. This Knicks offense is at their best when he's down low making plays. And he just refused to go down there. Would not do it. Found some success, and a lot of the 3 shots he made, most of them came inside the paint, but doesn't do it. And so what annoys me as just a fan in general, I hate when people talk the talk, and then when it's time to put up, don't do it. Just disappear. Don't tell me how great you are. Don't tell me how much you want to win. Don't tell me how much, how great of a player you are and how a star you are. And then all of a sudden, it's, okay, time to prove it, and you disappear. I don't want the ball. Lights on me, but don't pass me the ball. I don't want it. Big play needs to be made. I can't make it. Sorry. Just can't get the rebound. Sorry about that, guys. Maybe I'll get the next one. Doesn't make the winning plays. Doesn't make the gritty plays. And you see why the Knicks are where they are. Good team. Talented team. Jalen Brunson's clearly there, I think one of the best players in the league. But they're nowhere near the level of the Celtics, the Cavaliers, the Thunder. Nowhere near. And now as the Lakers are surging, they proved tonight that they're not on the Lakers level. This game was very winnable. Controlled it for 3.5 quarters. Couldn't finish the job. Couldn't get it done. In large part because there's no one else outside of Brunson that could step up and make some winning plays in a game I thought really the Knicks needed to have. They are now 0-9. 0-9 against the top 4 teams in the East and West. Brutal. After the game, Tom Thibodeau did not have much of an injury update, but did talk at least about the toughness of his star in Jalen Brunson.
His mental toughness is, through the roof. And, it doesn't surprise me. The way he played the whole game, they were loaded up pretty good on him. And, he still just keeps battling.
If they had one more player next to him, this team, I think, could be a championship contender. And that's why you look at this offseason with Kevin Durant out there. If I'm the Knicks, I go all in. And if you can move off of a guy like Karl-Anthony Towns in the process of getting Kevin Durant, all the better. 855-212-4227. 855-212-4227. Frustrated about the Knicks. As a non-Bengals fan, I'm also pretty upset and frustrated with what they're doing and how they're managing their money and how they're handling their roster. Came out on Thursday. Trey Hendrickson, their star defensive end, has requested a trade. They seem like they're going to grant it. And so the leading sack man in 2024, a guy who accounted for almost half the Bengals sacks as a team in 2024, is now going to be on a new team in 2025 because the Bengals, when they should have paid him last year, didn't, are now paying the price as one of the best edge rushers is too expensive for Cincinnati. I think to me they are the Cowboys of the AFC, one of the most mismanaged teams right now in all the NFL. 855-212-4227. Let's go to JT calling from Atlanta. What's up, JT?
Hey, what's going on, Ryan? Thanks
What's
for
up,
taking
buddy?
my call. So this is funny because just thinking about this whole Bengals thing makes me think of like parenting almost, right? Like when you take your kid out to the store and they're like, I want this, I want this, I want this. That was Joe Burrow this offseason, right? Like what he wants. And then the parents like, okay, you can get that, but you're not going to get this, right? And it's like, no, I want it all. It's like, no. You have to make a choice. Either you want this or you want this. And then the kid ends up picking something, and then they don't get the other toy that they always wanted. And I feel like that's what the Bengals are doing to Joe Burrow right now. They're like, okay, you said you wanted this, but then you're not going to get this then. You don't get to have it all. You just get your receivers. You wanted your receivers. You're going to get your receivers. But as far as the defense is concerned, you're going to have to outscore everybody else just because of that. But you get what you asked for, and we're going to give you that. But you're not going to get everything that you want.
JT, if that's the case, man, then like that just I think highlights my point. Like, what are we doing? How can you afford to be petty in the spot that you're in right now?
Yeah, I mean, why are they? I mean, it's weird because everybody always talks about owners, and they're like, oh, they don't spend this or they don't spend that, but they're all billionaires. They all have the ability. They all have the money to spend. They just choose not to. They choose to run theirs like a business or whatever the case may be, looking at the profit bottom line. But they can do it. It's not like they don't have the money to do it. They just choose not to. And I think this is just another example of that.
It is. JT, appreciate the call, man. It's like, again, if you want, I don't think they're being petty. Like, I don't think what Joe Burrow said, and to your point, right, he was all over every basically media outlet, podcast, TV show, talking about we got to keep our guys, keep them. I'll restructure. I don't think any of that, though, like should offend Cincinnati. Again, you should be like, inspired by that. Your star quarterback wants to do everything he can do to make sure the most talented players on your roster, some of the most talented players in the league, don't go anywhere. Shouldn't that be the motivation of the GM and more importantly, the owner? Oh, my goodness. Alex is in Miami. What's up, Alex?
Hey, what's up, Ryan? Thank you for taking my call.
Of course, man. What's on your mind?
I feel bad for Joe Burrow, man. I think this has a chance to become like Dan Marino 2.0, where he doesn't win anything. They have to obviously trade T. Higgins. They have to keep Trey Hendrickson. They have to. Their defense was 25th in the NFL.
Yep.
So they got to work on that.
Done.
They're not going to be able to win every game in a shootout. That's not going to happen. Their offensive line has holes. They got to address that too. But this is my question to you. I think they're trying to build the team from the outside in instead of from the inside out. Do you agree?
That's interesting. I appreciate the call, Alex. I would say no. Well, actually, I wish I asked you what you meant of outside in or inside out in the sense of, I guess, okay, so here's what I guess I thought you initially meant like free agents but now I think you mean, okay, receivers and kind of then build in. Yes, I agree with that they're going the flashy positions first instead of building toughness in the trenches, getting a better O-line, getting a defensive line that can generate pressure and stop the run and get some stops, give their secondary a break. Yeah, I agree. Again, like the fact, like when you look at the priorities, that's part of the reason why I think the Bengals are the most mismanaged team in the AFC. Look at where their priorities are. Wide receiver. They're about to sink, if they extend T. Higgins, they're about to sink $70 million next season into receiver alone. Ignoring the O-line, which they desperately need help in. Ignoring essentially their entire defense outside of changing coordinators. They're going to put all their money at receiver. Yeah, you're right, Alex. They are building from the outside in. It's an awful strategy. It doesn't work. The Dolphins have tried it, right, with Tyreek Hill and Jalen Waddle. That hasn't worked. They are severely mismanaged, and they're paying the price for it. They're making this team worse. They're taking Burrow and co. away from being Super Bowl contenders. It's Ryan Hickey with you right here on the Infinity Sports Network. When we return, I'll tell you the 3 quarterbacks in the NFL with the most improved next season.
You're in a 5-minute break. Four minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Four minutes remaining. Three minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Three minutes remaining. minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Two minutes remaining. One minute, 30 seconds remaining. One minute remaining. Forty-five seconds remaining. Seconds remaining. Fifteen seconds. Break ends in 5 seconds.
This is the Infinity Sports Network.
And welcome in. It's Ryan Hickey with you right here on the Infinity Sports Network. Thank you for making us a part of your Friday. So we spent a lot of yesterday's show discussing the future of DK Metcalf. As he requested a trade, the Seahawks granted that request, and now they're working together to find a trade partner for DK Metcalf. And I thought the team that should be the most aggressive in getting DK was the Green Bay Packers. You know, they have a need for a number one wide receiver. They're a playoff caliber team. They're looking to win right now. But I thought the biggest reason why they should have acquired DK was to help out Jordan Love. You know, we've seen plenty of examples of big-time receivers coming in, Stephon Diggs to Buffalo, A.J. Brown to Philly, that have made those quarterbacks better, that have helped develop their passing game, especially to make them just better, well-rounded quarterbacks. And I thought DK Metcalf could do the same here with Jordan Love, because what we saw from Jordan Love in 2024 was a regression from 2023, was a disappointment. Injuries had, something to do with that, but still, he didn't look confident, nearly as confident in the pocket last year for the Packers as he was in that, that 9-10 game stretch in 2023 and in the postseason. So there was something different off. Maybe it was a sophomore slump that we saw kind of C.J. Stroud go through as well here, with defenses sort of figure out now you have to readjust to that. There was something going on with Jordan Love where, again, he did not play up to expectations in 2024. And I think that bringing DK Metcalf in can get that confidence back, can improve Jordan Love, and make him in 2025 maybe look like more like that quarterback we saw for the tail half of 2023. Get that guy back. And so when you look at now 2025 and some quarterbacks under pressure, I think Jordan Love is under pressure. Again, I think if you trade for DK Metcalf to help out Love, that indicates maybe We're not totally confident, all in on Jordan Love. So as I was thinking about that yesterday, even today a little bit still, about DK's future and the Packers and Jordan Love, I was like, oh, you know what? I think there are a bunch of quarterbacks in 2025 with something to prove. Whether it's to themselves, whether it's to the doubters, whether it's to their team. There's a lot of quarterbacks out here in 2025 playing for something. And so I figured, here's what I want to do here. Boil it down. Give you the 3 quarterbacks that have the most to prove in 2025. Let's get into it here and start at number 3.
Number 3.
It, to me, is Tua Tagovailoa. He has to prove in 2025 the contract the Dolphins gave him wasn't a mistake. Because so far, it has been. And that was my thought initially when they gave him the contract. I couldn't believe it. I thought it was a massive mistake so far by the Dolphins to give him the deal. And guess what? I hate to say it, but I've been proven right so far. Because this was a guy who came with 2 concerns into last season. His health and his ability to play well against good teams. And unfortunately, we saw an issue right now that has been plaguing Tua the last few years for his career. It's been concussions. Got another concussion last year. Missed 3 games. Finished the season with a hip injury. Missed the 2 important games where the Dolphins were trying to make the playoffs and had a possibility. Tua could not play in those games because of a hip injury. So this guy did nothing in 2024 after getting paid to dispel the health concerns that I'm sure the Dolphins had to have. And the other thing that's concerning is the fact that this was a guy that plays his worst football against the best teams. Right? If you're going to pay a guy $50+ million a year to be your franchise quarterback, you need him in the biggest games to step up and play well. That's not something Tua does. And in 2024, he just continued that trend. The Dolphins played 5 teams last year that made the playoffs. Their record in those 5 games, 1-4. Their offensive production in those 5 games, the offensive points per game total was just 17.8. That's it. With Tua, with Tyreek Hill, with Jalen Waddle. What is supposed to be a high-flying, high-octane offense. They run the ball well. Couldn't even score 20 points per game against the 5 playoff teams they faced. Tua is at his worst when Miami needs him the most. So when you look at 2025 now, Tua's got to prove that the Dolphins made the right move in giving him that contract. He's got to prove he can stay healthy. He also should say, has to prove he can play well when his best is needed. Too many times we see Tua struggle against the Bills, against the Chiefs, against the Packers. You need this guy to play well, and so far, Tua has not. And the reason why, honestly, he's only at number 3 is because I don't really have much faith in him to begin with. Again, I thought the contract extension was a mistake. I have, after 2023, written off Tua as a guy you can truly believe in, as a guy that could be a Super Bowl caliber quarterback. So that's the only reason why he's not 2 or 1 on this list, is just because I don't really expect much from him to begin with. But I think Tua does have a lot of pressure. I think for me, he's the number 3 quarterback with the most to prove here in 2025.
Number 2.
It's the guy we just talked about, Jordan Love. Look, Love was thought when he was drafted and developed to be the heir apparent to the Rodgers and Favre throne. And through 2 years, he's been disappointing outside of a 10-game stretch. He needs to prove in 2025 that 10-game stretch we saw in the second half of the 2023 season that took the Packers to the second round of the playoffs. He has to prove that 10-game stretch is the rule, not the exception. Again, this is a guy who last year, his confidence was shaken. His decision-making was questionable. His numbers were down. He has to get back to proving that he can be the guy. Because now, if we're talking about a 2025 season that looks a lot like 2024, where even if the Packers make the playoffs, but it's an ugly exit and he does not play well, well, then we're talking about the 2.5 years out of 3 where Jordan Love's been disappointing and not lived up to the contract. Not saying they're going to move off of him, after next year, but I think that thought starts to trickle in your head of, is he the guy? is Jordan Love truly the next franchise quarterback for the Packers? And can he continue that, Favre to Rodgers to Love lineage? I think Love's got some pressure on him. He has something to play for here. He, to me, comes in number 2 on the list of quarterbacks with the most approved here in 2025.
Number 1.
It's Brock Purdy. I think Brock Purdy has the most to prove of any quarterback in 2025 because what he has to prove is that he is actually the talented quarterback. And it's not the system and the players around him. That is why that 49ers offense is so good and why, he has played well for the most part of his career. We're going to see now how good Purdy is because we already saw Deebo Samuel traded, so one weapon taken away from him. There's more and more reports coming out about Brandon Ayuk's future and that he could get traded by the 49ers. If that's the case, and we're looking at the top 2 receivers in the 49ers off their team in 2025, what that does is put more of a spotlight, put more pressure on Brock Purdy to elevate the team around him and still continue to play well. They're going to ask, even with CMC coming back, and fingers crossed he's healthy in 2025, they're still going to ask more of Brock Purdy, especially if you lose both Ayuk and Deebo this offseason. And we saw in 2024 with all the injuries, right? Christian McCaffrey missed games. Deebo missed games. Ayuk missed, 3/4 of the season, unfortunately. We saw more asked of Brock Purdy last year with the injuries around him. The results were not encouraging. He had career lows in passer rating, passing yards, passing touchdowns, career highs in interceptions with 12 and sacks taken. He did not play good football last year. And so I get it, there are injuries. I get it. But still, you want to see your quarterback, right? If you're going to pay him, again, $50, $55 million a year, the way I think the 49ers are going to pay Brock Purdy this offseason, you have to believe and have faith that, okay, if we have one of our guys out or injured, our quarterback can make the backup better. He can still find a way to have success. He can make those around him better. And right now, I think Brock Purdy has to prove that. He's getting paid this offseason, so it's not like he's playing for a contract in 2025. But I think he still has a lot to prove that he's actually a good quarterback. Now with some of the weapons he's used to having being taken away. So you look at the quarterbacks here with the most approved in 2025. If we go top 3, I think Tua comes in at number 3 because he has to prove this year that he can stay healthy and also play his best football against the best teams on the Dolphins schedule. Number 2 is Jordan Love. I think he has to prove that again, that 2023 second half hot streak that really went from Thanksgiving to the second round of the playoffs is not a fluke, not an anomaly. That truly is who he is. I think Love has a lot to prove there. Number 1, a guy who really is a polarizing player. Either you like Purdy or you don't. I am a Purdy guy. I am a believer he's a good quarterback. I'm a believer that it's not just the system, but that he is a talented guy himself and worth paying $50 million a year to. With that said, though, I think he's got to prove it. With one weapon already taken away, he has to prove, I think, in 2025 that he can be the guy for the 49ers, for the next 10 years. No doubt about it. He's your franchise quarterback. Purdy, to me, has the most to prove of any quarterback here in 2025. So I want to ask you this at 855-212-4227. 855-212-4227. Which quarterback do you think here has the most to prove next season? For me, it's Brock Purdy. If you have a different answer, 855-212-4227. 855-212-4227. You also can tweet me at Ryan_Hickey3 on social media. And also you can check out our Infinity Sports Network YouTube chat where you can watch the show, but also comment there as well to give your thoughts on the quarterback with the most to prove in 2025. I think it's Brock Purdy. If you disagree, 855-212-4227. 855-212-4227. It is Ryan Hickey with right here on the Infinity Sports Network. When we return from this break, we will hear your thoughts. But also, big news of the day, right, was the Trey Hendrickson trade. And, Trey Hendrickson trade request, I should say. I'll tell you the team when we do return that benefits the most from Trey Hendrickson coming out or wanting to leave Cincy? We'll do that when we do return. It is Ryan Hickey with you right here on the Infinity Sports Network.
You're in a 5-minute break. Four minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Four minutes remaining. Three minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Three minutes remaining. Two minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Two minutes remaining. One minute, 30 seconds remaining. One minute remaining. Forty-five seconds remaining. Thirty seconds remaining. Fifteen seconds. Break ends in 5 seconds.
This is the Infinity Sports Network.
It is Ryan Hickey with you right here on the Infinity Sports Network. This MLS game preview is sponsored by Lowe's. Members get more with My Lowe's rewards. Don't wait. Join for free today. Lowe's, we help you save. Miami hits the road to take on Charlotte this Sunday. Messi was a healthy scratch on Thursday's CONCACAF victory against Cavalier. Second straight missed game because of fatigue. Now, Miami has 4 points on this young season. Fingers crossed if you're going to watch this game, especially in person, if you go to Charlotte, fingers crossed we do see Messi on the pitch on Sunday. He is listed as day-to-day with fatigue. There's been no update in terms of, so far at least, as we've seen, about his status for Sunday, but obviously that's the main drive I want to see. Fingers crossed, whether you're watching or if you're going in person, Messi's on the field ready to go Sunday in Charlotte. We just were talking about the quarterbacks with the most to prove here in 2023. I think for me, number one is Brock Purdy. I think he has to prove that he's actually good. It's not the system. It's not the players around him. It's not Kyle Shanahan, but he himself has talent. I think everything around Brock Purdy helps him, obviously. Right, he benefits from having the best running back in the game and Christian McCaffrey behind him, having one of the best play callers in the league and Kyle Shanahan calling the plays to help coach him. But I think still with that said, Brock Purdy is good. But I think with what we saw last year and kind of being put on his plate and having him struggle, I think he has to prove in 2025, even though I think he's going to get paid, that he truly is worth it. That he truly is legitimately one of the best quarterbacks in the league. That's why, for me, I think he has the most to prove here in 2025. If you have a different quarterback, you think someone else has the most to prove here, 855-212-4227, 855-212-4227. You can also tweet me, Ryan_Hickey3 on Twitter. I'll get your thoughts here in a second. But I also want to just quickly circle back to the news of Trey Hendrickson's trade request away from Cincinnati. And it does seem like the Bengals are going to honor that. And so when you look in now the D-end market, right? Myles Garrett is out there. Trey Hendrickson is out there. The team that benefits the most from the Trey Hendrickson trade request, I think, is the Buffalo Bills. Because that's a team that desperately needs a game-wrecking defensive end that could use help there, get some pressure on the quarterback, and now they not have just one option to go get on the trade block. They now have two. I'm no economics major. Took one class in college. I'm not going to pretend to tell you I know what I'm talking about whatsoever here. But I think this is simple, that everyone can understand and gets. Supply equals demand, right? The greater the demand, lower the supply, higher the price. Well, when you look at trying to get defensive ends, they're not usually traded. And they are hard to get. I kind of just went through the league really fast. There's about 8 defensive ends that I would call elite that you would trade, and want to have that are truly disruptive on any given week. So that means basically 3/4 of the league don't have one of those disruptive edge rushers, but they all want them. All 32 teams want to have them. Only 8 actually do. So the demand to get a game-wrecking defensive end is very high. 75% of the league wants one. And now you're starting to see the supply ratchet up, which I think in the Bills situation, helps them by lowering the price. Again, now it's not just Myles Garrett, and you don't have just 10 teams focusing on one guy. Now you got 10 teams focusing on 2 guys. Towards Myles Garrett or Trey Hendrickson, both extremely productive. Hendrickson led the NFL last year at 17.5 sacks. Number 3 in all the NFL in pressure rate. Number 1 in total sacks the last 2 years with 35. Myles Garrett, each of the last 2 years, has had 14 sacks. Guy's only 29 years old. Hendrickson's 30, but he's also been durable and has not missed any games. So two premier at the peak of their careers, game-wrecking defensive ends that are both now on the trade block. Yeah, there's no bigger winner than the Buffalo Bills, who, when you look at their postseason losses, right, there are a lot of things you could talk about and chalk up to. One of the constants for Buffalo every time they lose a playoff game has been lack of pressure on the quarterback. In their 5 playoff losses dating back to 2020, they have combined for just 6 total sacks. That's it. 6 sacks in 5 playoff losses. That's unacceptable. That's a big reason why they can't get over the hump, because they can't generate pressure on the opposing quarterback. They can't get them off their spot, can't hurry up their motion, can't hurry up the play and cause some disruption. If Buffalo is able to get Myles Garrett or Trey Hendrickson, that number's changing. And their Super Bowl odds are drastically changing. Not to mention, I think Cincinnati, again, they have some talent. They have Joe Burrow. So I think anytime you have Burrow, you have a chance. But if you can trade for Hendrickson specifically and knock down a rival in the Bengals in the process, whew, you talk about the perfect scenario here for Brandon being the Bills. Get it done if you're Buffalo. But now that you have some supply on the market, in the case of Myles Garrett and Trey Hendrickson, there is no team that woke up on Thursday happier about the news of Trey Hendrickson wanting out of Cincinnati than the Buffalo Bills. They got to get one of the two. Now, no doubt about it, their odds of getting a game-wrecking D-end just went up with this news. 855-212-4227. 855-212-4227. It is Ryan Hickey right here on the Infinity Sports Network. On top of just talking about the Bills being the happiest team to hear about the Hendrickson news, we also talked about the quarterbacks with the most to prove. Which quarterback do you think has the most to prove here in 2025? For me, it's Brock Purdy. How about you? 855-212-4227. Let's go to Johnny calling from Atlanta. What's up, Johnny?
What's going on, Ryan? First of all, if the Cincinnati trade Hendricks inside the AFC, they are crazy. They're stupid. They don't want to be in the Super Bowl. They don't want to run in the Super Bowl. So
fair point. But it depends. I mean, if the Bills blow away with an offer, I think you do owe it to yourself first and foremost to get a return. Let's just say hypothetically, Johnny, right? Like they offered 3 first-round picks. You got to take it. I know it's Buffalo, but it sucks.
Yeah, because they did going to pay 2 elite receivers. That don't make no sense either. But
I agree.
But the quarterback, to me, they need the most to prove is Sam Darnold. He got to do it because he got to show this year was not a fluke. So that's him. And then the person on your list, I agree with you. I say Jordan Love because he got paid just to be a water boy and win 6 games. So he got a lot to prove. Him and Sam Darnold got a lot to prove this year.
To be fair to Jordan Love, Johnny, and thank you for the call. I mean, Jordan Love did make the playoffs 2 years in a row. It's not like he's a water boy winning 6 games a year. Like, if you want to use that phrase, I would put that on Tua then. Tua's accomplished less than Jordan Love has in a bigger sample size. Jordan Love has a lot to prove. Your Sam Darnold one is interesting. Why he did not make my top 3 at least. In part is, like, I like Sam Darnold, I really do. But I think a lot of his success in 2024 was the system, was Justin Jefferson, was Kevin O'Connell. And so if he does not go back to Minnesota and instead he goes to the Giants or the Steelers or the Titans, I don't expect a lot. I really don't. I don't expect a repeat to where he's, top 6 in the league in terms of passing yards, passing touchdowns, and passer rating. I don't expect him to replicate in 2025 what he did in 2024 if he goes to one of those teams. So my expectations for Sam are just not high. But I hear you, right? He had a great year. That was right now by far the best year of his career. Is that who he is, or is it more of a guy that's with the Jets and couldn't win the job in Carolina with the Panthers and being exactly what you said, John, a water boy in San Francisco holding Brock Purdy's water? I think he's a fine quarterback. I just don't trust right now that he is someone that will be as good again in 2025 as he was in 2024 if he goes anywhere but Minnesota. 855-212-4227. Clint is calling from Toronto. What's up, Clint?
Hey, Ryan. Thanks for taking my call.
Of course, man. What's on your mind?
I'm a Detroit Lions fan.
Okay. I guess let's see where we're going here.
I really feel like Jared Goff has a lot to prove this year. He's been great for 2 seasons in the regular season, and albeit we had a lot of injuries last year, but he hasn't been good in the big game in the playoffs.
I mean, he got the job done 2 years ago, Clint. I think it's a little unfair. Like, he played well, and I don't think he was.
2 years ago, we just shit the bed.
Yeah, no, you're right about that. No doubt about it, Clint. But you're at least in 20. Like, yes, I think Jared Goff is up there. Like, I think he's legitimately good. For me, he's not a top 3 guy in part because, like, when you look at the Lions, right, their issues were defensively, not offensively. You know, he's played well in big games. The Commanders game, look, I get it. There was some stat padding there at the end. When you look at least overall, it will be interesting to see what Jared Goff's able to do here in 2025 when you look at the coordinator change. But you still got a really good offensive line. You still got some weapons out there as well to throw the ball to. I expect a Jared Goff to be another guy that's top 10 in the league and a lot of stats and plays well. 855-212-4227. Let's go to Alan here in Wisconsin. What's up, Alan?
I am a Packers fan, and I like Jordan Love, but I think the entire extension class of 2024 needs to prove something because Dak Prescott most definitely is highly overrated. Trevor Lawrence, you left off the list. I don't know where he's at or what he's doing, but he's definitely got something to prove. And Tua, Jordan Love, all 4 of them, each contract was signed one after another, and each one was worse, more worse than the one previous. And I just think those are the 4 targets this year that have to prove that they're worth the money.
Alan, I appreciate the call. Obviously, we listed some of them in Jordan Love and Tua. The one we did not mention that you just did there was Trevor Lawrence. For me, when I was making my list of the top 3 quarterbacks of the most approved, partly what went into is expectations, right? With Trevor Lawrence, he has been disappointing. And you look at 2025 and you look at the roster right now that Jacksonville has. And I don't know if you saw any of the moves they made today, but they basically gutted their entire offense. They traded Christian Kirk. They cut Evan Ingram. The reason why Trevor Lawrence did not make my list is just because I don't expect much on that Jacksonville offense in 2025. And I think partly it will be because there's just not a lot of talent there. That offensive line is not very good. The receivers are not very good. Trevor Lawrence was supposed to be a prodigy, right? Coming out of Clemson, and he was supposed to be the chosen one of these generational talents that was in the same discussions as Andrew Luck and John Elway. He clearly has not been that. But I think part of it is now I don't think he's gotten the help he needs. And with Liam Cohen, Liam Cohen did a great job last year at Baker Mayfield and turning his career around. What I'm fascinated to see with Liam Cohen now calling the shots in Jacksonville is that last year he had in Tampa Bay, the only year he was with the Buccaneers, was by far the best he had as an offensive coordinator. He bounced around a lot. He was with the Rams a few times. He was with Kentucky a few times. He's not been a guy with a big track record of success. He's been back and forth. He's gotten fired from a few jobs to where, with what we saw last year in Tampa, is that truly who Liam Cohen is? Or is he just in a situation where he had a really good quarterback in Baker Mayfield, some solid receivers in Mike Evans and Chris Godwin when he was healthy, a running game with 2 good running backs? Was it the product of what he was working with? Or just kind of did everything fall in a line, kind of the stars line for one big year that's not truly him as an offensive coordinator and how creative he is? Trevor Lawrence, I think, needs some help, needs some talent around him in order to succeed. And I just right now don't see that happening in Jacksonville to where I can't put Trevor Lawrence on the hot seat or say that, this is a big year for him. Because I don't think right now the Jaguars are kind of rebuilding. You don't really see teams rebuild when they have a franchise quarterback that they're paying over $50 million. But that's where the Jaguars are. And so until there's some talent in there, I'm going to leave Trevor Lawrence off this list right now because I just don't think there's a lot of pressure. 855-212-4227, 855-212-4227. We'll continue to get your thoughts here in terms of the quarterbacks of the most approved in 2025. But Marco Belletti is here, and I do want to ask him this question here because we talked and started the show, Marco, about mismanagement having to do with the Bengals. If we look at society here, mismanagement, just some of the dumbest people, if you will, on this planet. Did you see that the Fire Festival 2 is coming back? Are you aware at all what Fire Festival 1 is?
I am not.
Okay. Oh, okay. So for you and for anyone else listening that has no idea what Fire Fest is. So this was a music, or supposed to be a festival, a music festival that was on an island.
Okay.
With Billy McFarland was the organizer of this whole thing. He's going to be these luxury cabanas you can stay in, all these big time acts to go see. It's going to be basically Coachella, but on an island and 10 times better. Turned out there was really no acts there that were any good. You're staying in like Red Cross tents and eating food that was like 10 days old, that were like ham sandwiches that were not fresh. A total disaster. He went to jail for it.
Yes. Now, once you say, I didn't realize the
Defrauded
name, but
everybody.
yes, now I know what it is.
Lied to investors, lied to fans.
It was like a piece of cheese on a piece of bread that was disgusting.
Right.
Yes.
A lot of people paid a lot of money and were not given what they were advertised, and thus spent almost 4 years in jail. You would think, okay, maybe I'll stay away from that. But no, instead he's now doubling down, and Fire Fest 2 is in the works in Mexico last weekend of May.
This year.
2 months from now. I guess a little less than that.
So he's giving himself no time to put this together as well.
Correct.
Aha.
Now, for me, this is where, in terms of, you round up the idiots, how stupid do you have to be to go to this as a person? How stupid do you have to be to say, he defrauded everybody the first time, but this time, second time, this is real?
I'll flip it. Does he really want to go back to jail? How bad could it be? He's got to have his act together this time, right? Maybe I get it for a good price.
Well, from what I've seen already in doing some research here for Firefest 2, it's in Mexico. I don't know if I mentioned that. One problem. The Mexican Tourism Bureau has said, we have no idea about this. We have not approved it. We've not heard about it. Not happening.
You know what I'm thinking? What's the guy's name again?
Billy McFarland.
I'm thinking he likes the 3 squares. I think he wants to go back. This is a ploy.
3 squares meaning like 3 square meals?
Oh, yeah.
He likes jail?
I think he wants to go back.
Let's see. I'm on their website, by the way, because I just want to kind of, for this exercise, see if I can buy tickets. I'm on the website, as you can see right now on my computer. Fire.
Interesting the way it's spelled, too.
Oh, here we go. Now I clicked buy tickets 4 times. Now I finally got the price to come up. So they have a few different packages. You can buy
VIP?
the VIP first one that pops right up, VIP access. Elevated experience. Does it say what it is? No. All you get, or only description you get, is your own exclusive gateway. $5,000.
Gateway. You know, I wonder if maybe he just learned to put more vague nonsense into what it is and not actually explain what you get for the money. So he found the loophole to get the money back, but not be in, I don't know, defrauding the public. Is that possible?
Maybe, you know what? Maybe you're onto something. Because I'm looking right now on the ticket website, and there is the Ignite section, the Fuego section, that's $5,000, the Phoenix section, $12,500, and the Prometheus section, which right now does not have a price.
But there's no real description of what you get.
Nope. Let's see. Let's click on the Phoenix here. I'm
wondering if that was the reading he did while he was getting his 3 squares, and he realized that if I just don't explain what you get, maybe I can get away with this.
Yeah, all it says, I just clicked at it. If you want to go to the Phoenix level of ticketing, it's $12,500 each, not including fees, of course. And additional notes, it says must have smartphones on hand to enter events. These tickets are featured as a great value. Backstage access includes VIP concierge. Tickets will be ready for delivery by April 21st.
Definition of a con man right there.
I'm thinking that's, again, if you go on the con, if you don't explain what you get in great detail, as long as you come close, people could be annoyed with the product, but as long as you're quote unquote giving them what you say you're going to give them, is there fraud? I don't know the answer to that. I'm assuming there's not.
If you are dumb enough to at least believe this guy the second time around.
Yeah, you deserve everything you get.
And it's in Mexico.
Which, maybe that's, I don't know what the rules there are for.
Notice how it's not in Terre Haute, Indiana.
Where was the first one?
Some island somewhere. I forget. I have to look it up.
Okay.
And it rained. It was crappy weather. It was.
Well, you can't control the weather. In that regard, I'll give them a pass.
Fine. But were they equipped to have people stay out of the rain? No, they were not. Were those shelters rainproof? No, they were not.
Well, I mean.
Are you easy? Can you just take an Uber home? No, you can't. You're on an island. You're there.
That's on you. I'm sorry. That one's on you.
I mean,
Woodstock,
I saw this.
They weren't prepared for the rain. Nobody complains about that. Twice.
Well, at least Woodstock, you had acts there.
Well, yes, you did.
You can see some great legendary bands.
Yes, you did.
And while you're in the rain and you're disgusting and muddy, at least you're getting what you paid for.
Well, they complain about the second Woodstock, not the first one.
True. Yeah, but the second one had some good acts there. I mean, it's not the first one, but nothing's going to be the first one.
I mean, again,
look,
I think we need names and a list of people that sign up to say, I'm going. And I don't know, you round them up, put them somewhere, round them up, kick them out of the country, round them up. Maybe that's where all the scammers, don't scam me, don't scam you. Just stop with these texts of just, you know what? Put the list out there, and this is the people. These are the people you're going to attack every day, new scam.
I'm going to go past the fact that you're a dumbass that you did this. However, I'm also going to wonder if you've got money to burn, so you're not overly concerned about it. Do you just want to be able to say that you did this? Do a lot of people say that? Oh, yeah, no, I got burned on that one. I gave it a shot. Do they like that? Is that like a story to tell?
I don't know. Why would you want to tell your friends, I just spent, even if you had the money, I just spent $12,000 to go to Firefest 2. Guess what didn't happen? Firefest 2. Guess who lost all their money? Firefest. I did. With nothing to see.
Or do they want to be able to tell the story about how we were in the tent in the Red Cross and we got 2 pieces of bread and a half a piece of cheese that was a week and a half old?
If you have that much money, that can't be.
I don't know. People are idiots. I think we started it with that.
People are idiots. No, you're right about that. But
is that what do they enjoy this? I don't know. Because there's not a good reason to say why you gave the money up to go see this.
But if you have that much money to piss away, essentially, be like, if we get scammed, at least we got a story out of it. Then you have enough money to do something else. Go create a story.
Go to a real show?
Go somewhere, something. Go internationally travel. I don't know.
I don't know. People with money are bored, man. They want stories. They want experiences.
Let me give
I'm
going
to buy the experience.
Billy Give it to
party.
us.
Make
Honestly.
your own party.
You could. But again, those are things that those are bland. Those are blah. Nobody can talk about that. This is a story. This is something that at a party you can lead with.
If I'm at a party and someone I meet says, hey, guess what I did? I was at Firefest 2. I'm leaving the party. You're a loser. You're a loser.
Or this winds up becoming a major story like the first one was, and then somebody goes, I got to tell you, I was there. I could tell you all about it.
No, thank you.
They want to be the center of attention.
Keep those people far, far away.
Story forever.
Oh, my goodness. It is Ryan Hickey with right here on the Infinity Sports Network. Hopefully none of you listening are dumb enough. If you are, start the refund process now. It may not be too late, but please, if you bought, actually, 855-212-4226. I want to hear how dumb you are and why you thought I'm going to trust this guy a second time. Well, when we do return here, we'll get your thoughts on the quarterbacks with the most to prove. And also, we learned about some possible Kevin Durant landing spots as he inevitably is traded from the Suns. We'll give you those after we get this latest sports update from men who cannot be conned. Marco Belletti.
Infinity Sports Network. Sports Flash.
All right, the Bengals apparently struggling to keep the pieces together as Cincy reportedly giving Trey Hendrickson permission to seek a trade. He wants a new contract as the 30-year-old's coming off a 17.5 sack season, but Cincy also looking at contracts for T. Higgins, who they hit with the franchise tag for a second straight year, and of course, Jamar Chase. Texas sends a 7th-round pick at next year's draft to the Jaguars for wideout Christian Kirk. Jaguars also releasing tight end Evan Ingram, saving about $6 million to the cap. Washington has brought back Bobby Wagner. That a 1-year deal. Browns restructured the contract on Deshaun Watson once again. It clears nearly $36 million in cap space. 29-year-old, still 2 years left on that 5-year guaranteed contract at $230 million. NBA, the Lakers remain red hot, now up to 8 straight wins. Rallied from 13 points down to outlast the Knicks in overtime, 113-109. Luka Doncic, 32 points, 12 assists. LeBron James, 31 and 12 rebounds. Now, Jalen Brunson led the Knicks with 39 points and 10 assists, but forced to leave in the overtime after he rolled his ankle.
I haven't spoken with him. He was back with the medical people, so I'll get updated, later.
That's head coach Tom Thibodeau. Elsewhere, the Warriors rallied from 22 down, edge out the Nets 121-119 behind 40 from Steph Curry. Hawks took out the Pacers 124-118. Trae Young 22 points, 16 assists, while the Rockets took advantage of the Pelicans.
Swings it back behind him to a man. Crossover. He got a shot inside going in, and instead he'll dump it off to Alperen Şengün. A fantastic feed for Amen Thompson. Everybody thought he was going to take the small jumper. Instead, he found Şengün, who kisses it off the backboard, and it's now 96-79 Houston.
Şengün, 22 points, 6 rebounds, 8 assists. Rockets dispose of the Pelicans 109-97. Call courtesy Rockets Radio Network. Rest of scores, Celtics pound the Sixers 123-105 as Jason Tatum at 35 and Kobe White 44. Bulls up in the Magic 125-123. College hoops, 8th-ranked Michigan State outscored Iowa by 14 in the second half. Rally for a 91-84 victory. Hockey, the Avalanche dominate the Sharks 7-3. Stars outlast the Flames 3-2 in overtime. Predators erased the Kraken 5-3. Hurricanes up at the Bruins 3-2. Jets 4, Flyers 1. Edmonton survived Montreal 3-2 in overtime. Panthers shut out the Blue Jackets 3-0. Lightning outscored the Sabres 6-5, and Utah doubled the Red Wings 4-2. I'm Marco Belletti.
855-212-4227. That's the number to get in touch with us. The Infinity Sports Network. Give us a call. 855-212-4227.
You're in a 5-minute break. Four minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Four minutes remaining. Three minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Three minutes remaining. Two minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Two minutes remaining. 1 minute, 30 seconds remaining. One minute remaining. Five seconds remaining. Seconds remaining. Seconds. Break ends in 5 seconds.
This is the Infinity Sports Network.
It is Ryan Hickey with you right here on the Infinity Sports Network. Thank you for making us a part of your Friday. So the worst kept secret in the NBA is that Kevin Durant is going to be traded this offseason. I still think he's a championship level player. Like, this is a guy who he's older, right? 36, 37 years old. He's still fifth in the league in terms of points per game, nearly averaging 27 points per game. He's shooting 50% from the field. He's just below 40% from three. He is still a difference maker. He is still one of those guys that can take a team like the Knicks from where they are to a pretty good team to a championship level team. He's that good. And that's why for me, I think the best fit for him this summer is with the Knicks. Go to New York. Go be that 1A, if you will, to Jalen Brunson. And go help take the Knicks from where they are right now to elevate them to the next category, that championship tier, which is where the Cavaliers, Celtics, and Oklahoma City thriving right now, sitting right now. KD, if he goes to the Knicks, closes the gap between those three teams and the Knicks and makes them a championship contender. And the good news is for KD and why he fits so well is he does not want to be a leader. He does not want to run the team, control the team. So he comes to the Knicks. It's Jalen Brunson's team. All KD has to do is play. That's why he was so successful in Golden State. He didn't want to, be the face of the franchise. That was Steph. He just said, let me go out here, let me hoop. You guys kind of be the face and take all that, bro. I'm just going to go play basketball. That's why he worked so well in Golden State, and that's why he flamed out in Brooklyn with the Nets. KD does not want the responsibility that comes with being the face of the franchise. Brunson's the face here for the Knicks. He opens up the floor, Kevin Durant does, for Jalen Brunson as well. Knicks take the third fewest threes in the league. That paint is clogged, man. And when Jalen Brunson tries to drive, a lot of players are collapsing on him. So if you can bring KD in, spreads the floor out, makes Jalen Brunson's life a lot easier, I think this is the makings of a team that could go to the finals. I think the Knicks are a finals caliber team if they go get Kevin Durant. But it's not just the Knicks, though, they're going to be interested here in KD. Sam Amico put this out of Hoops Hype. He put out 4 teams that right now are the kind of the front runners, if you will, to try to land Kevin Durant this summer. He said it's the Lakers, the Mavericks, the Spurs, and the Heat. And Brian Windhorst, who knows a thing or two about the NBA and knows a thing or two about who'd be interested, well, he was on ESPN earlier today. He threw out a different team so far not named. Take a listen who could be interested in the Kevin Durant sweepstakes.
Another small market team to watch. Minnesota Timberwolves, which Ant Edwards and KD, very tight connection, also from the Olympics. The Timberwolves tried to pull off a crazy trade at the deadline for KD. Look for them to revisit those talks this summer.
I was right. Anthony Edwards has talked at length about his love for Kevin Durant. That's his guy. So there was motivation there for Minnesota to make the move, and I'm sure KD would probably like playing with a guy that idolizes him. But at least if you include those teams, the Timberwolves, the Heat, Spurs, Mavericks, Lakers, Knicks, outside of the Lakers, the Knicks are the best chance for Kevin Durant to win. And with the Lakers, I'm not even sure how he fits in with that group of Luka and with LeBron. I don't know who LA is giving up. Like, also you have to remember on the other side of a trade, right? Who are you giving up to get Kevin Durant? Who is LA giving up to get KD? I don't know. Who is of value to Phoenix? I don't know. I think his best fit there is with the Knicks. 855-212-4227. Let's go to Mike in Georgia real fast here. What's up, Mike?
Hey, what's up, Ryan? Hey, any chance you're related to Nat Hickey?
To Nat? No.
Yeah. He was the oldest player, before LeBron. I think he was 45 years old to play in an NBA game.
I wish, Mike. And I like to think I was, have some athletic genes in my body. But unfortunately, no relation. But you know what? Maybe I'll start telling people that.
Yeah, right.
Can't hurt.
Hey, I was just wondering. Hey, are you kidding me? KD is not going to. Dude, he is a middle midget. He wants no part of that media up there. Look at his career. He's only played in small market areas. Where they don't really. He wasn't the focus in Golden State.
That's the point. Jalen Brunson's the face of the team.
Yeah, you're right. He wants no part of being the leader, but he can't handle that, man. He don't want that smoke. He don't want no part of that media.
I think, Mike,
I could see him going to Milwaukee before there.
I appreciate the call, Mike. Again, I think for me, because Jalen Brunson is still the face of the team, it's still quote unquote his team. I think Kevin Durant's not going to be intimidated by the New York media. He's there once already. I know he kind of ran away from it, but I think with most of the arrows going towards Jalen in that case, I think KD will be fine. It is Ryan Hickey with right here on the Infinity Sports Network. When we return, we'll continue to kind of take your thoughts here about the quarterbacks under the most pressure in 2025. And also, Dan Lanning got paid like a top 5 coach. Is he, though, a top 5 coach of college football? We'll discuss next.
You're in a 5-minute break. Four minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Four minutes remaining. Three minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Three minutes remaining. minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Two minutes remaining. One minute, 30 seconds remaining. One minute remaining. Forty-five seconds remaining. Thirty seconds remaining. Fifteen seconds. Break ends in 5 seconds.
The Infinity Sports Network.
And welcome on in. It is Ryan Hickey with you right here on the Infinity Sports Network. A happy Friday to you. Thank you for making us a part of your morning. Now, this news broke on Thursday, but I'm still, that this news will carry over for a few days, I'm sure. So someone's going to wake up here on a Friday and be having a very good Friday. Is Oregon head coach Dan Lanning. It was announced on Thursday that Oregon amended the 6-year contract of their head coach, gave him an extra $2 million a year pay bump. So now Dan Lanning, Oregon's coach, is making nearly $11 million per season, which is top 5 in college football. What a way to start the weekend. Yeah, no biggie, just a $2 million increase. No big deal. Good for Dan Lanning here on getting that big bump. He's getting paid like a top 5 coach in college football. What I want to ask you, though, at 855-212-4227 and discuss is Dan Lanning right now a top 5 coach in college football? Is he one of the top guys right now in the sport? And for me, I think he is. Dan Lanning's a great coach. Like, I'll give you my top 5 here in a second. But Dan Lanning is number 5. He's at the tail end of the top 5, but to me, Dan Lanning is easily a top 5 coach in college football because what he has done has been the model right now of consistency at Oregon. The guy in 3 years there is 35-6. He goes from the Pac-12 to the Big Ten. All he does in the first season changing conferences is go 13-0, win the Big Ten title, get the number 1 overall seed in the college football playoff. I know it did not end well, but still, you have a great regular season, win the conference in which you beat Ohio State as well. You beat Penn State, two of the best teams in the Big Ten. And now you're also crushing it on the recruiting class. Or in the 3 full recruiting cycles he's been in Eugene, he's had top 10 classes. The last 2 years, he's had top 5 classes. He is getting some of the best kids each and every year to go up to Eugene, Oregon to play for him. Like, to me, he's one of those guys, there's no doubt about it. In the next 5 years or so, I think he's winning a national championship. The only thing he has to do is that he does have to win the big game. That's the only thing right now you can say about Dan Lanning is when it has been a big moment for him, his teams have not come through. Whether it's the fact that they lost to Ohio State and got their doors blown off in the Rose Bowl in the College Football Playoff. Whether it's going back to his Pac-12 days when he was at Oregon and he lost to Kalen DeBoer 3 different times in 2 years. Last year, I guess 2 years ago, Oregon in the Pac-12 title game, they win there in the College Football Playoff, lose that game to Washington in a game where everyone thought the Ducks would win. So he has had a propensity right now in some of these big-time games to not come through. But he's still young. Oregon's right there on the doorstep. They're extremely talented. The arrow for them is pointing up. I have no doubt he's going to break through, win big games, and win a national title here very, very soon. He's done everything right so far. For the Ducks, I have no doubts about Dan Lanning. He, to me, absolutely is a top 5 coach. He comes in at number 5. Number 4 is Kalen DeBoer. Look, I know things did not go well in year 1 in Tuscaloosa at 9-4. But there's still a lot of reasons to believe he's going to turn it around and turn it around very quickly. He is great at developing quarterbacks. Look at Michael Penix Jr. He was there at Indiana with him when he had his big year in 2020. And he was there, obviously, in 2022, 2023 in Washington when Penix had 2 big years. I think should have won the Heisman Trophy, guided Washington to the national title game in 2023. DeBoer has a good eye for quarterback talent. He's a very good offensive mind. And despite the 9-4 season, and by the way, also with the retirement of Nick Saban, he still has Alabama recruiting at a high level. You know, they've been a top 5 recruiting team now 2 years in a row. He's still getting big-time talent down in Tuscaloosa. Kalen DeBoer, while it was one down year, don't sell your stock. Because everywhere this guy is coached, he's won. He's a winner. He's a number 4. I feel very confident in him winning a national title here as well in the next few years at Alabama. Above him in the SEC, Steve Sarkisian. He comes in for me at number 3. I hated this for a while. And I hated Texas, to be honest, for a while. Because everyone always wanted to claim Texas is back. They are back. And every year, they would lose a big game, and all of a sudden they go 7-5, and Texas all of a sudden is not back. Well, Texas, we can now truly say, is back because of Steve Sarkisian. They are consistent. They're now playing in these big games every single year. They're winning these big games. He's an offensive genius, Sarkis. You could see now his play calling has really helped change Texas and actually make them a consistent winner. And how about this? He deserves a lot of credit for this. Not only did he land Arch Manning, he kept him there for 2 years. Could you imagine the NIL calls and the offers his agent was getting to have Arch Manning leave the bench of Texas and go to wherever?
Arch Manning.
There's nothing to say to that one. Oh, boy. But could you imagine the amount of calls he must have gotten to say, hey, come here, we'll give you whatever you want, the earth, the moon, and the sun. And Sark was able to keep him in Austin for 2 years at a time when kids don't start one game and they want to transfer. He deserves credit here for that as well. He, to me, is an elite coach. That's why Sark comes in at number 3. Number 2, Ryan Day. The disrespect this guy got up until the national title game was insane. He is an elite coach that beats basically every program. That every team really outside of maybe one would want as their head coach. He's 70-10 his career at Ohio State. He's made the College Football Playoff 4 times in 7 years. Just won the national title. He gets so much criticism unnecessarily, both inside the program and outside. I don't get it. He is a great coach. He is the second best coach in college football. It's really not an argument. He's got a ring on his finger. The guy beats everybody. I get it. He has a Michigan problem. And it's a problem. Losing to them 4 years in a row. I get it. But outside of Michigan right now, Day beats everybody. I think he'll eventually break through. Get the Michigan rivalry back on his side. He, to me, seems like watching him coach, seeing how stressed out he gets and seeing how differently he coaches that Michigan game versus every other game on the schedule. I think for Day to get that Michigan rivalry back on his side, all it takes is one. You win one, your confidence is back. And I think now we're looking at a guy who coaches that game differently. And I think now you'll see Ohio State win against Michigan more often than not. You got to win. You got to break through and do it. I think he's though very capable of doing it here short term. Ryan, or in the short term here, I should say. Ryan Day to me comes in number 2. Number 1, best coach in college football right now. It's still Kirby Smart. He to me is still the king of college football. 2-time national champion. He always has Georgia in the mix. And outside of 2024, Georgia's talent's always elite. They were not in 2024. They had some real issues talent-wise. They had some problem areas on that roster that I think Kirby did a good job of addressing this offseason. And we'll see that and see how that evolves going to spring ball here. But to me, there's no doubt about it. How Nick Saban, right, he didn't win the national title every single year. But every single year for about a 15-year span, Nick Saban and Alabama, they were the standard. You were always chasing them. And that's how I feel right now with Georgia and Kirby Smart. They are the standard. Are they in the national title game every single year? No. They missed the playoff in 2023. But still, with the talent they get, the consistency that they have, hell, they still, with the lack of talent and I thought the vulnerability that they had, they still won the SEC this year. Kirby keeps that program chugging along. They, to me, have replaced Alabama as the standard right now in college football. Kirby Smart, number 1 guy in the country, number 1 coach right now in college football. So when you see Dan Lanning get paid, he's getting paid like a top 5 coach. To me, rightfully so. Oregon's knocking on the door. I think in the next 5 years here, they're going to have a national title in Eugene for the first time ever. Dan Lanning, to me, number 5 when it comes to coaches in the country. 4, Kalen DeBoer. 3, Steve Sarkisian. 2, Ryan Day. Number 1, Kirby Smart. 855-212-4227. 855-212-4227. It is Ryan Hickey with you right here on the Infinity Sports Network. If you don't think Dan Lanning is a top 5 coach, I want to hear why. 855-212-4227. Sell me why you think I'm giving him too much praise that you definitely believe he does not deserve. 855-212-4227. Also on Twitter, Ryan_Hickey3. We also talked earlier in this show about quarterbacks with the most to prove. When the DK Metcalf news, the trade request news came down yesterday, I said that the Packers are the team that should be the most aggressive in pursuing DK Metcalf. And it had me thinking then just about Jordan Love and his down 2024 and where he goes here in 2025. And so I was like, you know what? I think Jordan Love has a lot to prove. And so made up a list, or created a list, I should say, of the 3 quarterbacks with the most to prove in 2025. Number 3, Tua Tagovailoa. Number 2, Jordan Love. For me, the quarterback with the most to prove in 2025 is Brock Purdy. I think he has to prove he's actually a good quarterback and not a benefactor of being in a great system, being surrounded by great players. When you look at 2024, he was asked to do more because of injuries. He did not deliver. He's going to get paid this offseason. So he's not playing for a contract. The 49ers are going to pay him. I think it'll be in the low 50s, but I think he will get $50 million a year. But I still think he has to prove it. Prove that he is truly a good quarterback and not, again, just kind of mooching off the system, mooching off the great players around him, and mooching off Kyle Shanahan. I think for me, Brock Purdy is the quarterback with the most to prove. If you think there's a different quarterback here that has more to prove than the 49ers signal caller, 855-212-4227. Let's actually go to San Francisco, talk a little Brock Purdy with Omar. What's up, Omar?
How are you?
Doing good, buddy. What's on your mind? How you doing, all right?
Good. Yeah, I'm great. I just have to respectfully disagree with you on the Brock thing because
sure.
The way I see it is he's accomplished more as a quote-unquote Mr. Irrelevant than first-round picks. I mean, in his first year, he came in, played 9 games, went to the NFC Championship, got hurt.
Right.
Second year, goes to the Super Bowl. This last year, yes, it was his worst year, but I do believe he was pressing. I do really believe that. I think he's a good quarterback on the cusp of being a great quarterback.
But see, you just kind of prove my point there. Over you're about to say great, then you say good. That just proves it. He's got to prove it.
Well, oh, damn, you got me. But what I'm trying to say is, he gets like a lot of hate that's not deserving. Like, okay, no, let me take it back. You win. When I heard it, what you just said, it didn't make no sense. It sounded better in my head.
Wow, Brock Purdy got you in a pretzel there, Omar. I appreciate the call, but I mean, I think to your point of he does get a lot of unnecessary hate. And I think Brock Purdy is a very polarizing quarterback because you're either in on him, you think he's good, or you think he's just a product of the system. You think he's not very good. He's replaceable and can move on. I'm a Brock Purdy guy. I think he is good. But why to me he comes in at number one is, again, kind of the questions that you mentioned and the polarizing nature of his play. But also, we did see last year, and again, I know injuries are a factor, and it's tough to ask quarterbacks to play great when so much is falling apart, running back, receiver, O-line, I get it. But again, when you pay a quarterback $50, $55 million a year, you need them to make other players around them better. And I just didn't love that as the 49ers put more on Brock Purdy's plate last year and asked him to do more, he struggled mightily. Again, I think he will bounce back in 2025, but I think he needs to have a good year. He doesn't have to earn the contract here because, again, he's going to get it. But that's one where I think he has to silence a lot of the doubters and leave no question that it's, sure, the system helps, having good players around him helps, but that he himself is truly a top 10 quarterback in the NFL. 855-212-4227. Let's go to Rob calling from Connecticut. What's up, Rob?
Hey, Ryan, what's going on? It's good to hear you on this time slot. I think JR missed you today, or yesterday, I should say. What I wanted to say to you about two topics. I'm glad that you're talking about the Buffalo Bills in a very positive way because we are drooling at the fact that now Hendrickson and Garrett are available.
Right.
So I think Brendan Bean should be on the phone calling Cincinnati and Cleveland.
Agreed.
A lot. That would be a huge, huge key for the Buffalo Bills. I agree with you on that. Now, as far as the quarterbacks, the 3 quarterbacks that have a lot to prove, I completely agree with you on that 100%. But for me personally, I was thinking about this one quarterback. Personally, I think he should walk away from the game. But if he does get signed, I think with his ego and pride, it doesn't allow him to walk away from the game. I think he has a lot to prove, and he wants to prove to everybody in the NFL and fans that he can still play and prove something, is Aaron Rodgers.
Oh, boy. Rob, thank you for the call. Appreciate the kind words. Aaron Rodgers. I agree in this. Yes, I think he does have something to prove, in part because for how great he is, I do think these last few years with the Jets and even kind of how the final year ended in Green Bay, I think they have chipped away a little bit at how people remember him, how people look at Aaron Rodgers. If he does play in 2025, I think he is out there to kind of save his legacy a little bit. I think it has taken a little bit of a hit. Do I think, again, I just don't know. For me, I can't justify any team in the league right now signing Aaron Rodgers. I would not do it. I would say as far away from him as possible. I think he's a cancer. And for me, I would say no thank you. To your point, I also just don't expect him. I don't think he has much left in the tank. 42 years old, kind of limping around last year at the Jets, even though he played all 17 games. It's sad how Rodgers' career is ending. And maybe for him, the quicker it ends, the better. Because the longer he's on the field, I feel like the less positively we look towards Aaron Rodgers. Let's go. Speaking of JR, as Rob just mentioned, let's go to one of the callers we always do love on the show, Alan in Toronto. Hello, Alan.
Hi, good morning.
Good morning to
Yeah,
you,
Brock
sir.
Purdy, he has to regain his 2023 stats. And the Giants too. The Giants were 6-11 this year after going 12-5 the previous year. So they have to regain their season too.
Yep.
And can he regain it? That is a question mark. Look at what he did in 2023. 4,280 yards, 31 touchdowns, and a quarterback rating of 113, 113.
Let me ask you this, Alan. Are those stats in front of you, or is that just off the top of your head?
They're in front of me. I do my homework. My mom
I was going to
always
give you
told me,
credit
"Do your homework, and that's exactly what I do. So
Good
it's
for you, Alan.
You know.
One other question for you here. You call JR show a lot, which is 6 to 10 p.m. Eastern right here on CBS, on the Infinity Sports Network every single Monday through Friday. When do you sleep?
Yeah, I'm fully retired. I've been retired for 5 years. I was a cabbie for 37 years, and I'm a man for all hours. All hours of the.
So when do you
24
sleep?
Hours
You
a
call
day.
JR at like 8. You call us here at 4 in the morning.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I'm just curious, Alan. What's the sleep schedule?
Yeah, anywhere at any time. Whenever I'm tired, I fall asleep. Sometimes I fall asleep at 7 or 8, and I wake up, and it's 12, 1 o'clock. Sometimes I wake up at 4 in the morning. It's all hours. So.
Oh, I see. So I'm assuming you're calling us after falling asleep and waking up. Is that the case?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So.
All right, Alan. I appreciate the input there. Thank you for kind of taking us into our lives. So, yeah, just really quickly, full disclosure, we're at least working with JR show. Alan does call us a lot. Alan talks, so we don't really know much about Alan. So now to kind of get a peek behind the curtain of how the man operates. He rattles off a million stats. As you can hear, he talks a million miles an hour. So is it off memory? Does he have like 3 pieces of paper in front of him? He's got the stats in front of him, and Alan, I guess, sleeps when he wants. He's retired, so every day is Friday for him. Sleep at 1 o'clock in the afternoon, 1 a.m. What's the difference? Alan in Toronto, one of the most interesting, and I said that in a positive way, Alan, positive way. One of the most interesting callers we have here on the Infinity Sports Network. 855-212-4227, 855-212-4227. It is Ryan Hickey with you right here on the Infinity Sports Network. When we return, we just talked some college football coaches here, give you a top 5. One guy not in the top 5, but I would say is the most intriguing coach in college football is Bill Belichick. Spring practice started this week for North Carolina. What are expectations for Bill at UNC in year number 1? We'll discuss those next. It is Ryan Hickey with you right here on the Infinity Sports Network.
You're in a 5-minute break. Four minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Four minutes remaining. Three minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Three minutes remaining. 2 minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Two minutes remaining. One minute, 30 seconds remaining. One minute remaining. $45 seconds remaining. $30 seconds remaining. $15 seconds. Break ends in 5 seconds.
It is Ryan Hickey with you right here on the Infinity Sports Network. I think we're bringing the world together on this show. We just had Alan in Toronto calling, and I tried to ask him his sleep schedule because he calls this show, he calls JR's show earlier in the day, 6 p.m. 10 p.m. Eastern, right here on the Infinity Sports Network. So Alan is up all hours of the day and night, sleeps, I guess, whenever he wants. And I just got this tweet from Brandon Chun at Ryan_Hickey3. It would seem that Alan and I are kindred spirits. I nap a little here and there, but for the most part, sleep is for suckers. God bless. I could not do that. I like a power nap, 40 minutes if, I really need it, but anything more than that, I just get drowsy. But like my number, at least for me, is like 7.5. If I can get 7.5 hours of sleep, consecutively, I'm cooking, I'm flowing, I'm feeling pretty good. That's usually my number. So, and as someone who was up for 23 hours yesterday, sleep is not for suckers. Because once you hit the wall of like 18, 19, 20 hours, it's like pure delusion. You don't even know what you're saying. You don't know what you're doing. You don't know what you're looking at. Your brain can't process. God bless you, Brandon. God bless you, Alan. If you can sleep for 2 hours here, 3 hours, I'm jealous. It's a great way. I mean, you get more out of the day. I hope it works for you. That I do.
Ever have kids?
I guess what it is. Why you just in shifts?
Yes.
Get it whenever you can. So what's your sleep schedule then, Pete? Do you sleep right through or no?
Well, now I do with these hours because my wife and I are on opposite schedules.
Okay, so you come home, you can go right to sleep, get whatever you need, and then you're up and ready to go.
Right.
Okay.
But the kids during the weekend, it's high demand.
Oh, I'm sure.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. They're up with energy from dawn to dusk. And I guess that's a win probably because now kids stay up later and later. But yeah, no, Sleep, man. It's tough. Ryan Hickey with you right here on the Infinity Sports Network, 855-212-4227. Someone who doesn't need a lot of sleep, right? Since he's an older gentleman, is Bill Belichick. And now, since football season is back here for the spring, I'm sure Bill Belichick thinks sleep is for the week. Spring practice this week has started for UNC down in Chapel Bill. He's getting into it. He seems like he's ready to go here. Expectations for Bill Belichick in year one, I think it's just flat out make a bowl game. That's it. If you can get to 6 wins, I think that's a success for Bill Belichick in year number one. Not making the ACC title game, not winning the ACC, not making the college football playoff. Because while Bill is going there, right, he's a great coach, I think there's still a learning curve he has to figure out, and still talent acquisition you got to figure out. Even with the portal, you can't turn over your roster that drastically to the point where you are now a playoff team when you weren't last year. Like, look at Colorado when Deion Sanders got there, right? We made a whole big thing, and we saw it all over video of him basically telling everyone, hey, everyone in this room, basically, pack your bags, you ain't staying. And he brought in like 80 new players. They also won 4 games that year in 2023. You could bring in a whole bunch of players on the transfer portal, but it's not that easy of just turning around a team that's been a perpetual loser into a playoff contender. So that's why for me, I just look at it, bowl game. You make a bowl, you're good, Bill. That to me is all that matters. And you look at the schedule, I think they have the schedule for it. They play TCU at home, which should be a fun game. That's probably a loss. Charlotte, Richmond, okay, back-to-back wins, nice and easy. At UCF, they're kind of on the downswing there. That should be a win for Bill. Clemson comes to town. Early prediction for you. I bet you that's where College Game Day is going to be. Was that week 1, 2, 3, 4, 5? Without seeing any other schedule for that week 5 college football, I bet you will probably see College Game Day there in Chapel Hill when Clemson comes to town. Clemson's good. They're legitimately good this year. Dabo's got that team humming. Again, credit to him. He's using the transfer portal. Cade Klubnik coming back is one of the best quarterbacks in college football. I think the Tigers go into Chapel Hill and work UNC. But after that, I mean, at Cal, are they good? Probably not really, but long road trip, toss-up game. Virginia comes to town. That's a win. You're at Syracuse, Stanford, Wake. Like, there's not a lot of challenging games on your schedule. You should be able to get to 6 wins here. Should be able to get 6 wins. And if you do, I think it's a win. That is a success if we see Bill Belichick in a bowl game in year number 1. And I pray to God, that bowl game is a Duke's Mayo Bowl. Please, if I have one wish that will be granted, it's to see Bill Belichick win the Duke's Mayo Bowl and then after the game get a gallon of mayo dumped on his head, a Gatorade bucket of mayo dumped all over. We all need that. The curmudgeon, the always angry when he's in football mode Bill, winning a bowl game and getting mayo dumped on him. Few things I need to see in my life more than that. But Bill Belichick in his first, we'll say, in season, if you will, since we'll count spring practice here, some real football going on, in season press conference, Bill Belichick did meet with the media earlier, and he discussed why, as we saw on video and social media, at least there are some videos out there, players, no jerseys on their practice, or no numbers, I should say, on their practice jerseys. It's all blank. Bill Belichick explained why.
Numbers and what color gloves we wear and all that's not as important as doing your job and being responsible and accountable to your teammates and being a good teammate. And so our focus is on the team, and we're just all out there working, practicing, trying to get better. And it's coaches, players, all of us. And so it's not all about individual notoriety right now. It's about trying to put together a team.
It's good to have Bill back. Oh, is it good? You hearing that gravelly voice and the monotone nature that he likes to speak when he's in season. It is good to have Bill back. Who cares about jersey numbers? Who cares about glove color? It's about the team, baby. The team. Oh, this is going to be fun. This is going to be fun. 855-212-4227. 855-212-4227. It is Ryan Hickey right here on the Infinity Sports Network. We talked a lot about Brock Purdy. Do you think Brock Purdy is a quarterback, kind of switching gears here for a second, that needs to prove something in 2025. I do. I think so. I think even though he's going to get paid this offseason, I think that's a guy, when you look at his down 2024, I think he has to prove in 2025 here that he's not just a benefactor of playing on a great team in a great system. Nelson from Dallas has some thoughts on that at 855-212-4227. What's up, Nelson? Oh, my God.
Hello?
Hello, Nelson.
Hey, what's going on?
Are you okay? Are you smoking like 10 cigarettes at one time?
No, I'm fine. I'm fine. I'm on my way to work.
You're fine.
Yeah,
you barely have a voice.
Yeah, I'm all right. And my allergies flared up.
Damn allergies. Always get you. Hopefully you don't have to talk for a living.
Yeah, I deal with the purpose. They're going to deal with it today. But, I wanted to talk about, I think Brock Purdy is just a product of the system.
All right, I'm going to let you go here, Nelson, in part because I could not hear a word you were saying. You said you're fine. That voice would say otherwise here. The one thing we did here, Brock Purdy is a product of the system. I think Brock Purdy, in part, is successful because of the system. But this is why I think 2025 is a big year for him. You know, you don't get to a Super Bowl being a crappy quarterback. I think Brock Purdy made some plays on his own. Again, coming back from a 17-point deficit when they played the Lions in the NFC title game 2 years ago. I think Brock deserves credit for that. But this is a guy where he does have, again, one of the best play callers at his disposal in Kyle Shanahan, and he has some talent around him. That's why I'm intrigued to see, without having Debo there, losing one of the key receivers, I don't think Brandon Ayuk is getting traded. That's been floated out there. I don't really understand from the 49ers perspective why you would trade your top 2 receivers without getting really anything back and trusting then Jawan Jennings and Ricky Pearsall to be your top 2 guys when you are still going for a Super Bowl. Right? The 49ers are not rebuilding. They got Christian McCaffrey back. They got Nick Bosa back, Fred Warner, George Kittle, like Trent Williams. They're going for it. I don't see the benefit in a year where it's Super Bowl or bust. Now, excuse me, Nelson, I guess maybe through the phone, just transferred his scratchy voice to me here. But I don't see the benefit of trading your 2 best receivers in a year where it truly is Super Bowl or bust. But still, no Debo there. One less weapon for Brock Purdy to work with. How does he play? Can he uplift players around him? Can he make Ricky Pearsall better? Can he make Jawan Jennings better and a more reliable receiver? I think he does have something to prove here. I'm excited to see how he does play. I think he's going to bounce back. I think we'll see a lot more of what we saw from Brock Purdy in 2023 here in 2025. So I think he is a good quarterback, but I think he has to go out there and prove it. I don't think he just have people like me speaking on the radio saying it. He has to go out there and prove it on the field. 855-212-4227. 855-212-4227. It is Ryan Hickey with you right here on the Infinity Sports Network. When we return, we are seeing in real time one of the greatest feuds in sports media. I'll play some audio after we get this latest sports update from Marco Belletti.
Infinity Sports Network Sports Flash.
Well, all right, Trey Hendrickson wants himself a new contract, and the Bengals have now granted Hendrickson permission to seek a trade. 30-year-old coming off a 17.5 sack season, as he seemed to know this day was coming when he spoke about his situation during Super Bowl week, courtesy of the Pat McAfee Show.
Ideally, my wife and I would love to stay in Cincinnati. If it's something that helps the Bengals win a Super Bowl, if they get picks or anything like that, I want to help win a Super Bowl for Cincinnati if I'm there or not.
Elsewhere, the Texans have acquired wideout Christian Kirk from the Jaguars in exchange for a 7th-round pick. Jaguars also released tight end Evan Ingram, saving him about $6 million to the cap. 10-time Pro Bowler Bobby Wagner back to Washington, that a 1-year deal, while the Browns saved $36 million on their salary cap by restructuring the contract for Deshaun Watson. NBA, the Lakers remain red hot.
LeBron to Luka. Luka dribbles left. Three-pointer by Luka. That's good! 5 straight points for Luka Doncic. Timeout, New York.
Luka Doncic, 32 points, 12 assists. LeBron James, 31 points, 12 rebounds. Lakers pushed their win streak to 8 straight, outlast the Knicks, 113-109 in overtime. Jalen Brunson had 39 in the loss, but limped to the locker room in overtime after rolling his ankle. Call courtesy of the Lakers Radio Network. Elsewhere, the Warriors rallied from 22 down, edge out the Nets 121-119 behind 40 from Steph Curry. Hawks took out the Pacers 124-118. Trey Young at 22 and 16 assists, while Jason Tatum, another big night for Boston.
Shine moves open in the corner. Tatum says, I'll take care of this one, and he knocks down another three. Shineman was wet. He could stand in there in the corner. He would have been waving for hours. JT's like, I got this one. 35 for Tatum.
I got the wheel, bro.
Tatum finished with those 35. Celtics rolled the Sixers 123-105. Call courtesy of the Celtics Radio Network. Elsewhere, the Rockets too much for the Pelicans 109-97. And Kobe White 44. Bulls up in the Magic 125-123. College hoops, 8th-ranked Michigan State outscored Iowa 91-84. Hockey, the Avalanche dominate the Sharks 7-3. Stars outlast the Flames 3-2 in overtime. Predators erased the Kraken 5-3. Hurricanes up in the Bruins 3-2. Jets 4, Flyers 1. Edmonton survived Montreal in overtime 3-2. Panthers shut out the Blue Jackets 3-0. Lightning outscored the Sabres 6-5, and Utah doubled the Red Wings 4-2. I'm Marco Belletti.
Hey, like us on Facebook. Our handle is INF Sportsnet. That's INF Sportsnet for our Facebook page. This is the Infinity Sports Network.
You're in a 5-minute break. Four minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Four minutes remaining. Three minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Three minutes remaining. Two minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Two minutes remaining. 1 minute, 30 seconds remaining. One minute remaining. Forty-five seconds remaining. Thirty seconds remaining. Fifteen seconds. Break ends in 5 seconds.
It is Ryan Hickey with you right here on the Infinity Sports Network. So you may have thought the biggest beef in 2025 was Kendrick Lamar versus Drake. Well, we do have a beef, including a Kendrick, but not Kendrick Lamar. Oh, no. We have now pushed that beef aside and coming to the forefront. The biggest beef right now we have going on is Kendrick Perkins versus Charles Barkley. This is getting good. This rose to a head today. So in case you missed it, I guess it goes back a while just because Charles Barkley kind of always makes fun of ESPN and hates their programming, what they talk about. But what really irked Charles Barkley recently was Kendrick Perkins on ESPN discussing how the Lakers have saved the NBA season. Getting Luka Doncic, pairing him with LeBron James, rising up the standings has saved the NBA overall. Well, Charles took exception to that. And since it's Thursday, right, NBA on TNT was featured. Charles Barkley was there ready to go. And let's just say he did not waste much time in giving his disagreement, we'll put it nicely here, with Kendrick Perkins' take. Take a listen to Chuck. Take a blowtorch to one. Kendrick Perkins.
I saw a fool idiot on TV talking about the Lakers save the NBA.
Save the NBA?
Yeah. He's an idiot and a fool, but he know who he is. He said the Lakers saved the NBA season. That's because them fools on the other network, which we're going to be working for next year, that's all they talk about. The season's been going great for the Cleveland Cavaliers and the Oklahoma City Thunder. Y'all just want to talk about the Warriors and the Lakers. The Cleveland Cavaliers have won 12 straight games. The Oklahoma City got the MVP, and they are on fire. Y'all are talking about who's in second place. That's the reason I get pissed.
A few things here. Number one, I will always laugh at the double insult. Fool idiot. The fool idiot over there on the other network. That got me good. I love a good double insult, especially.
I saw a fool idiot.
Two that never go together at all. I like that. Credit to you, Charles, there for kind of going outside the box a little bit. But also, when you move past the comedy, I think he's right. He's 100% right. In the sense of, I think ESPN does a very poor job, especially for basketball, at talking about the actual good teams. It's the Lakers. It's LeBron. It's Michael Jordan. It's the they talk about the same 3 or 4 teams. The Knicks are part of that as well. They talk about the same 3 or 4 teams, whether they are good or whether they are bad. And that's all they do. And I think Chuck is right, 1,000,000%. The Thunder do not get the credit they deserve. They're about to get the number 1 seed in the West for the second year in a row. I get it. They have to prove it come postseason time. They got to get to the finals and win a championship. But that is like they are a great team right now that is just bludgeoning everybody in the regular season. The Cavs are the best. They have the best record in the NBA. I get it. You want to see them in the postseason? See how it goes. But like they are a great team. Donovan Mitchell is a star. I think he's 100% right. I mean, for this example, to back Charles Barkley up here. I think it was today. It was either today or yesterday. Well, I guess really Thursday, since today's Friday. Thursday, First Take with Stephen A. Smith had Kai Cenat on. I don't know who he is. Apparently some streamer. I think he's very popular somewhere streaming something. But he was on the show, and what they were debating was not who the best team in the NBA is or breaking down, previewing Lakers, Celtics. They were discussing MJ versus LeBron. I get why if you're Charles Barkley, you're pissed. Because you're ignoring great stories and great teams that deserve attention. And by the way, how you make teams relevant, right, is by talking about them. You want more people to care about the Thunder? Talk about them more. Highlight how good they are. Show people why they need to care and pay attention to the Oklahoma City Thunder, to the Cleveland Cavaliers. Lead from the front. I'm in the industry, like we're in the industry here. I get it. You want to talk about what people are talking about. You want to talk about general things that the most people can have a thought on or be intrigued by. But how you expand those topics is by showing people and displaying why they should care. If you're a Celtics fan, why you should care about the Thunder. If you're a Lakers fan, why you should care about the Thunder and be worried about them and how good they are. I just don't think ESPN did a good job whatsoever, especially when it comes to basketball, about doing that. It is the same thing. It is LeBron. It's Steph. Whether they're good or bad. They were not good last year. Talked about them a lot. Way more than they should. Way more than they should. But Kendrick Perkins, I don't know, heard it. Someone told him about it, whatever it may be. He responded. And he wrote a tweet here. I'll read it to you. Quote, "Hey, NBA on TNT. Might want to tell that senior citizen Charles Barkley that I'll be around. When he see an idiot or fool in person, make sure he keep that same energy. He can come playing with me if he want to, and I'ma address his ass like the numbers on a house. Straight from the 409 homeboy, and we bar none and fade all. Hashtag Texas boy." That's a great line. Address his ass like a numbers on a house. We got some good lines so far. Kendrick Perkins and Charles Barkley. I would take Kendrick Perkins in a fight. It's never going to get to that point, but Kendrick is younger, bigger. I think he would take Charles Barkley to the woodshed. But that's a give me this feud. Let's go back and forth. Move aside Kendrick Lamar and Drake. Welcome to the forefront, the big beef we got. Kendrick Perkins versus Charles Barkley. Be fascinated to see how this continues to evolve, especially as Charles said, they're about to be coworkers pretty soon. It's going to be fun to see. Speaking of, by the way, ESPN personalities clashing with big stars, if you will. After tonight's game, which the Lakers beat the Knicks in overtime, 113-109, there was a video taken by a fan in the stands of LeBron James talking pretty animated towards one Stephen A. Smith. Stephen A. Smith has disagreed with a lot of what LeBron has said when it comes to the face of the league and has criticized LeBron for his comments about that. Stephen A. Smith was at the game, and I don't know if LeBron saw him. I don't know if Stephen A. tried to make a move first. The video starts with LeBron kind of very emphatically speaking towards Stephen A., and then kind of storming off after about 5 seconds or so. But he clearly did not seem happy. There's no hugs, there's no laughs there. But now we got a second ESPN personality now feuding with the biggest star in basketball, one of the biggest stars in the world, in LeBron James. I will give Stephen A. Smith credit this. His back's to the camera, LeBron's facing the camera. Stephen A. compared to LeBron, remember, LeBron's 6'9". Stephen A.'s holding his own size-wise. And maybe it's the fact that this camera, I mean, this guy's probably 10 rows up in the stands. Maybe that the angle helps Stephen A., but he does not look small compared to LeBron. He does not look like you'd imagine a 6'9" guy standing next to a guy. I don't know what Stephen A. is size-wise, but I always kind of picture him being smaller, shorter. I don't know, 5'10", 5'9", 5'8", somewhere in that range. He looks like 6'3", maybe. Give him credit. Can hold his own. Not bad, but boy, oh boy, beefs are running rampant here in the NBA on a Thursday. Give us more NBA give us NBA and TNT every night. Sign me up for this beef. I guess we have to listen now to ESPN's Friday Night Basketball coverage, see what Kendrick Perkins has to say. But yeah, I'm with Charles Barker on this 1,000,000%. I think ESPN's basketball coverage is lackluster. I think it's lazy. And they definitely cater to the lowest common denominator, which makes for a regurgitation of the same 3 talking points over and over and over again. And that's why, by the way, you don't hear many facts. You hear just yelling and screaming because there's nothing new to say. Now it's just, well, I got to talk louder than you, so that's what we're going to do. Good for Charles Barkley for calling it out, and maybe that will change the programming at ESPN to actually have them talk about good teams. Now, look, the Lakers are playing well. The Warriors are playing well, so now they're relevant. But again, earlier this season, not relevant, not good. Last season, not relevant, not good. But still, they were the lead more times than not. Hopefully that does change. It is Ryan Hickey with you right here on the Infinity Sports Network. If you're tuning in for the first time, thank you. Appreciate you. Make sure you do check out the Hick at Night show right here on the Infinity Sports Network every single Sunday night, 10 p.m. Eastern to 2 a.m. Eastern. You can also follow me on social media, Ryan_Hickey3. And you can check out my YouTube channel where a lot of videos posted from shows I host and also just throughout the week as well as news breaks are posted there at Ryan Hickey on YouTube. When we return, the Bengals, to me, are the AFC version of the Dallas Cowboys. I will explain why. It is Ryan Hickey. We are rolling here on a Friday. Happy Friday. Thank you for joining us right here on the Infinity Sports Network.
You're in a 5-minute break. Four minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Four minutes remaining. Three minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Three minutes remaining. minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Two minutes remaining. One minute, 30 seconds remaining. One minute remaining. Forty-five seconds remaining. Thirty seconds remaining. Fifteen seconds. Break ends in 5 seconds.
Welcome back to the Infinity Sports Network.
And welcome in. It is Ryan Hickey with you right here on the Infinity Sports Network. A happy Friday to you. Thank you for joining us here to get your early weekend going on here. Someone who may not have a very good weekend are fans right now of the Cincinnati Bengals. I think when you look at how they manage their team, manage a salary cap, to me, the Cincinnati Bengals are the Dallas Cowboys of the AFC, which means that they are a top-heavy team that waits way too long to pay their stars, which leads them then to overspending to keep their stars on their team, making the rest of the roster weaker because they don't have the cap space to make improvements. Look at this offseason for the Bengals. They have to pay Jamar Chase $40 million a year, roughly, because they waited instead of getting it done last year that would have cost them less than $40 million a year. They tagged T. Higgins for the second time this offseason, which means if they do get a deal done, that number only going up. This team has dragged their feet now when it comes to really every big contract except for one in Joe Burrow. They at least got that right. But the problem is they're wasting Joe Burrow's contract because they've waited on everybody else. They've took their sweet-ass time, and now they're paying the price. This should be a Cincinnati Bengals team coming off of missing the playoffs because their offensive line sucked and their defense stunk. That should be getting better. That should be making improvements around Burrow to make sure missing the playoffs when their quarterback has an MVP-like season never happens again. But instead, we are looking at a Bengals team that is going to get worse this offseason. That's going to get further away from Super Bowl contention because they are now forced to overpay stars because they waited so long. They are wasting another year of Joe Burrow's prime in 2025 because of how they've botched contracts around him. The news we learned on Thursday is that star defensive end Trey Hendrickson has requested a trade out of Cincinnati. He's going to the last year of his deal. He wanted to stay with the Bengals and get paid last year. They said, nope, we're not doing that. You're going to play out your deal. Trey said, okay, fine, no problem. Let me just go out there and lead the league in sacks. And now, going into the last year of his deal, wants to get paid again. And the Bengals quickly realized, oh boy, we can't afford this guy. He has now become too expensive. So we got to trade him because we can't afford to extend him. They waited, and now they are losing a premier edge rusher because they were too patient, because they didn't realize the talent that they had. They didn't have the foresight, or maybe it's just the cheapness of the organization, where they didn't want to pay him earlier than they had to, is now costing them. Doesn't that sound familiar? Is that not the Dallas Cowboys who waited on Dak Prescott and now forced to make him the highest paid quarterback in the NFL at $60 million a year? Waited on CeeDee Lamb. And I guarantee you, they're going to wait on Micah Parsons. It's an obvious contract extension they should give him, but they're already waiting. Max Crosby just got paid. He reset that number. You know, Micah Parsons is going to try to become, at least bare minimum, the highest paid defensive end, if not the highest paid non-quarterback in the NFL. Well, that number just went up to $35.5 million a year at least after Max Crosby's new extension. So the longer the Cowboys wait, they keep their stars, but they end up paying more with their patience. And that costs them because they have a tough time then when you have 3, 4, 5 players taking up a majority of the salary cap. You can't build a good team around them, which is why the Cowboys' run game last year stunk, which is why their defense stunk, because they didn't have the ability to pay to make the rest of the team better. And that right now is the future of the Bengals. They're going to be so top-heavy paying Joe Burrow, Jamar Chase, and it sounds like T. Higgins as well, we'll get to that in a second, that they can't afford to make real improvements to the rest of the roster. I mean, they're going to lose Trey Hendrickson. They have no one else to replace him with. This defensive line stinks overall. Can't stop the run, can't get after the quarterback. I mean, Hendrickson last year led the NFL with 17.5 sacks. The Bengals as a team had 36 sacks last year. Hendrickson accounted for basically half of them. The next closest guy in the team had 5 last season. So for a team that struggled defensively, struggled getting after the quarterback, you're about to lose now the only guy that could generate any sort of pressure. Not because you think he's going to get old and break down, because you can't afford him. Because you have to pay money to other guys who you waited too long to pay in the first place. That's sad. That's really sad. That is Cowboys-esque. And now the team is going to pay the price. This team's probably not a playoff team next year. And it's really sad that, again, Joe Burrow his prime years are getting wasted. But it's not just the fact that their patience is burning them. It's also the fact that their priorities are out of whack. Listen to this from Ian Rappaport. He was on the NFL Network on Thursday, and he spoke about how the Bengals view some of their key players on their roster.
This is the Bengals saying, love Trey Hendrickson, great player. His value is greater in a trade as opposed to Jamar Chase, T. Higgins, where they've made some level of progress trying to get them new deals. Their value is on the team. Hendrickson's value is not. Put it all together, and that'll be the Bengals who get on the field next season.
What? In what world can you look at how your roster is constructed and say a second wide receiver is more valuable than your best defensive end? Like, if anyone's getting traded this offseason from the Bengals, it should be T. Higgins. You're already breaking the bank with Jamar Chase. You're making a massive investment in Jamar Chase to keep him on your roster, as you should. But again, that investment is bigger than it has to be because you're waited. But now you're going to double down on the position by also extending T. Higgins? That's where your value is? You think T is more valuable on your roster next to Jamar Chase, and you think Hendrickson is more valuable in a trade? What are you talking? How is that logical? How is that logical? The Bengals don't need help passing the football. That is taken care of. And by the way, the most replaceable position, the easiest to replace, I should say, is receiver. So not only do you have a massive investment already in Jamar Chase, I would say the easiest person to go from one good receiver to one good player to the next is receiver. There are plenty of great receivers all across the league that are found in different ways, through free agency or through the draft. I think it's easy to draft a receiver and have him come in and expect to contribute right away, kind of like we saw Puka Nacua. Unheralded draft pick that all of a sudden came onto the scene and burst right in. Can the Bengals not do that? Second-round receiver and have him come in and try to play the role of T. Higgins? Hell, T. Higgins was a second-round receiver who burst on the scene right away, had a good rookie year. Why can't you expect the same thing again in the draft? Why would you not take advantage of the value at receiver and the lack of depth at defensive end? That mind-blowing to me. The Bengals have so many needs. So many needs. Receivers not one. Defensive end is, yet they're going to trade their defensive end who led the team and led the NFL in sacks. Again, not only are they the Dallas Cowboys of the AFC, they're also the most mismanaged team in the AFC. They have a great situation in front of them with a young stud receiver, a young stud quarterback, a guy at 30 in Hendrickson, but still he is a premier edge rusher, and you botched it. You have completely botched it. Not only are you losing him, but you still are in a situation where you're not exactly flush with cash to improve the offensive line, improve basically the entire defensive line, try to find a replacement for Hendrickson, make your linebacker room better, make your defensive back room better. Like, we're talking about significant upgrades needed for the Bengals to once again become a Super Bowl contender that they were just 2 years ago. It wasn't that far, long ago. They were in the Super Bowl and then back in the AFC title game. And yet here we are 2 years later, and they're going in reverse. They're getting worse, not better, as Joe Burrow gets better. They are the Cowboys of the AFC. They're the most mismanaged team of the AFC. It is sad right now with the state of the Cincinnati Bengals and what they're in right now. 855-212-4227. When you look at the Cincinnati Bengals here, are they the most mismanaged team in the AFC? I think, to me, they're just absolutely fumbling the bag right in front of our eyes. And they're not getting, I think, criticized enough for it. 855-212-4227. 855-212-4227. Also, you can tweet me, Ryan_Hickey3 on social media. Steven is calling from Tennessee. What's up, Steven?
Hey, are the Bengals an example of a team that aren't drafting well and it kind of goes under the radar? I mean, since Jamar Chase, who have they really brought in through the draft? I'm looking at their last three drafts, and I see, not great results from their first-round picks, and I just don't see a lot of hits.
I mean, yeah, you basically just told us, right? I mean, I don't know if the draft's off the hand. I have to look at the draft classes, but pretty sure the call, Steven, I think the point is made, number one, by you just going through it, but also number two, again, look at the contributors. Is the offensive line good? No. Is the defense good? No. Have they put draft resources into those areas? They have. Have they got results on their defensive line? No, they have not. Outside of Trey Hendrickson, they have not. And he wasn't even a draft pick. That was a free agent signing. You look at some of the best teams in the league. The Chiefs are in this category. The Rams are in this category. You can be top heavy in the sense of you can only have a few players making a ton of money. But you better be elite then at identifying talent in the draft and putting those guys in positions to succeed. Look at that Rams defense that just went into Philly and almost came out victorious in the playoffs. That defense is filled with first year, second year, third year draft picks. Guys that they have hit on and developed. That's great, obviously, talent identification by the scouts. That's also then great development by the coaches as well. The Bengals don't have that. The Bengals don't have that, whether it's the talent identification part, whether it's the development part, whether it's both. I can't sit here and pinpoint the exact issue, but it's clearly bare minimum at least one of those two issues. And now it's holding you back. So you're bad with how you manage your money at the top end. And then you're also bad at the bottom end in terms of trying to find cheap draft replacements for a few guys you can't afford to keep. They're 0 for 2. The Bengals are 0 for 2. Oh, man. I like Joe Burrow. I want to see him succeed. I'm not a Bengals fan, but I'd be happy to see him win a Super Bowl. I think he's a good, easy guy to root for. And it's like you can't help but feel bad for him because you watch him. He's trying to do the right thing. Right? He doesn't really complain. He's out there doing a media tour, and he's saying the right thing in the sense of he wants, obviously, right, all the best players on the roster to stay. He's not saying, look, I'm not doing my part. You pay me my money. My job is not to, figure it out how to make the money work. That's your job, talking to the front office. Joe Burrow's out there saying, I want to keep all my guys, and I'm down to do whatever I need to do to make that happen. Restructure my deal. Move some money around. Like whatever it takes to create cap space to keep as many players as possible, I'm down to do it. That to me is that's what a leader does. That's what a true leader does. And whether the Bengals don't care, aren't listening, are too cheap, whatever it is, they are clearly not implementing the strategy Joe Burrow wants them to. So Trey Hendrickson seemingly is going to be the first player from Cincinnati to be traded and leave. Again, I still think they should trade T. Higgins. I think it makes the most sense in the world. You already have Jamar Chase. You got a lot of money tied up at receiver alone with his salary of what should be about $40 million. I don't see how you can justify if you're the Bengals saying, yeah, we're going to give Chase 40. Let's give T another 30 or so. And let's give our wide receiver room $70 million a season. How does that make sense? How is that truly the best use of your money? Resource allocation is very important. So not only are the Bengals slow on the jump, slow at identifying their own talent and saying, maybe we should lock this up now. This guy's going to be pretty good. Not only are they slow at that, they're also slow at prioritizing positional need and which players they need and which they can afford to lose. Trading Trey Hendrickson and keeping T. Higgins makes no sense in the world whatsoever. None. But that's seemingly what they're going to do. What is it? You can't teach stupid? No matter what Joe Burrow says, no matter what he tries to do to help the team out, whether it starts at the top with Mike Brown, whether Duke Tobin, their GM, is part of the problem here as well, it seems like the entire front office and ownership is just flat out stupid. Bad businessmen. Don't know how to truly build a winner. They got lucky with Joe Burrow, capitalized that on a Super Bowl trip in year number 2, and have only regressed since. They have no one to blame but themselves. 855-212-4227. When you look at the Bengals, would you call them the most mismanaged team in the AFC? 855-212-4227. 855-212-4227. You also can tweet me, Ryan_Hickey3 on Twitter, and write in our YouTube chat that can be found on the Infinity Sports Network YouTube page. We'll get your thoughts, and also when we return. Joe Burrow does not have much to prove in 2025. That's for damn sure. But there are plenty of quarterbacks, I think, with a lot to prove here in 2025. I'll give you the top 3 quarterbacks with the most to prove in 2025 next. It is Ryan Hickey with you right here on the Infinity Sports Network.
You're in a 5-minute break. Four minutes, 30 seconds remaining. 4 minutes remaining. Three minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Three minutes remaining. Two minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Two minutes remaining. One minute, 30 seconds remaining. One minute remaining. $45 seconds remaining. $30 seconds remaining. $15 seconds. Break ends in 5 seconds.
It is Ryan Hickey with you right here on the Infinity Sports Network. 855-212-4227. So, I think 2025 is a pivotal year for plenty of quarterbacks. A lot on the line here. But I think there are three quarterbacks more than everybody else here that have the most to prove in 2025. I want to give them to you right now.
Number 3.
Number 3 is Tua Tagovailoa of the Dolphins. Tua has to prove the contract extension he got from Miami wasn't a mistake. I thought it was a gigantic mistake as soon as Miami gave it to him. And guess what? So far, I've been proven right. Because the two things I was concerned about that have come to fruition so far are Tua's health and his inability to play well against good teams. Tua last year, unfortunately, no one wants it, but unfortunately, suffered another concussion, which forced him to miss 3 games. Very scary situation there. And then at the end of the season, suffered a hip injury, and he missed 2 games in which the Dolphins were competing for a playoff spot. At the end of the year, he was not healthy enough to go. He's had injury concerns his entire career. He's only been fully healthy 1 time out of 5 seasons. And so health had to be a major concern for the Dolphins. So far, in the first year of that new deal, it was. And the other thing that's a concern that I think Tua has to prove, not only being able to stay healthy, he also has to prove the fact that he can play his best football when it's needed most, which is against the best teams on the Dolphins' schedule. He has struggled with that routinely throughout his career. And just to use 1 year as an example, last year the Dolphins played 5 playoff teams. They were 1-4 against those teams with their average, with their offense averaging just 17.8 points per game. Miami's built on their offense. You can't be paying Tua $53 million a year to put up less than 20 points against playoff caliber teams. Tua's at his worst when Miami needs him the most. That and he can't stay healthy. I think 2025 is a big year for Tua to prove me wrong and a lot of doubters wrong that he actually can stay healthy and can play his football, his best football when needed to the most. I have Tua at 3. Honestly, I would put him higher, but the fact is I just don't believe in Tua. I don't think he's ever going to stay healthy. I don't think that he's ever going to play his best football when needed to most. So I've given up. I have sold my Tua stock. I bought it. I was part of the Tua-anon. I was a believer. I've done the last 2 years, sold my stock, and I will never believe he's going to be a quarterback to live up to the hype he got coming out of Alabama. That's why he's at 3 and not at 2 or not at 1. Tua Tagovailoa, I think number 3 when it comes to the quarterback with the most to prove here in 2025.
Number 2.
Jordan Love of the Packers. Love was thought, right, when he was drafted and developed to be the heir apparent to the Brett Favre, Aaron Rodgers throne. And through 2 years of his career, he's been disappointing outside of a 10-game stretch in 2023, in which he helped get the Packers to the playoffs and win a playoff game. But I think in 2025, he has to prove that 10-game stretch is the rule, not the exception. Because otherwise, right, if we're looking at 2025, similar to how it was in 2024, we're then talking about for Jordan Love, 2.5 disappointing seasons out of 3. And then I think at that point, you're sitting there saying, if you're Green Bay, is Jordan Love the guy? Are we sure about him? Should we maybe start thinking about an exit plan here? I think you start to put the wheels in motion if you're Jordan Love. Maybe we do need some help here. Maybe we got to find someone else. If we see 2025 go as 2024 did, where he was not confident, he struggled for most of the year, was banged up there as well, and just looked completely lost at times during the season. I think Jordan Love has a lot to prove here in 2025. He comes in on my list, number 2.
Number 1.
I think it's Brock Purdy. I think Brock Purdy is the quarterback with the most to prove this season. What he has to prove is he's actually a good quarterback. That it's not the system, it's not the coach, it's not the talent around him, but instead, he is an equal contributor to that success for the 49ers on offense. And I think we're going to get a chance to see that. Deebo Samuel already traded right to the Commanders, and there's at least rumors, steam, that maybe the 49ers are considering trading Brandon Ayuk. And if that's the case, more is going to be asked of Purdy in 2025. Even with CMC coming back and being fully healthy, that plate gets a little fuller for Purdy here with Deebo gone, and gets even more fuller if Ayuk is not there as well and you miss your top 2 receivers. Because last year, while there were a lot of injuries for the 49ers, I thought it was an interesting test for Purdy. Because if you pay him, right, $50 million a year, well, eventually you're not going to be able to pay everybody. And so you're going to lose some talented pieces here or there. So I thought as the injuries started mounting for the 49ers, on the offensive line, no Christian McCaffrey. Ayuk missed, 75% of the season. Deebo was banged up. I thought that was a great test to see, okay, what is Brock Purdy like? When he doesn't have everything going his way, can he still have success? Can he still be a really solid quarterback? And the answer, at least last year, was no. He posted career lows in passer rating, passing yards per game, passing touchdowns, and career highs in interceptions and sacks. This was a guy that talent was taken away from him. He got worse. Again, if I'm paying a guy $50 million a year, I need him. Not want him. I need him to make players around him better. Brock did not do that in 2024. I think he's to do that in 2025 to prove a lot of the doubters wrong. I think to prove to everybody, yeah, he is a great coach, and the system is great, and the players around him are great, but he is also equally great as well. So when you look at the quarterbacks with the most to prove, I think there are a lot out there that have something to prove here in 2025. The three, though, I think with the most to prove here in 2025, Tua Tagovailoa, Jordan Love, and a number one, Brock Purdy. 855-212-4227. 855-212-4227. It is Ryan Hickey with you right here on the Infinity Sports Network. If you think there's a quarterback with more to prove than Brock Purdy, 855-212-4227. Also can get me on Twitter, Ryan_Hickey3. We also started this hour talking about the Bengals and their mismanagement. As the report comes out that they're looking to trade Trey Hendrickson and lose their all-pro defensive end who led the NFL in sacks last year, has led the NFL in sacks the last 2 years combined. That's not a guy you can give up when your defense is as bad as Cincinnati's was last year. But they have to trade him because they can't afford to keep him because they have to overpay to keep Jamar Chase because they waited to pay him. They're going to try to pay T. Higgins, which I think is a mistake, so that they have their priorities out of whack. When you just look at the Bengals right now, they, to me, are totally mismanaged. 855-212-4227. Anthony in Florida has some thoughts on that. What's up, Anthony?
Good morning.
Morning, man. What's on your mind?
I think it's a perfect analogy for the Bengals being the AFC version of the Cowboys. They're very, very good.
Oh, glad you enjoyed that.
Mismanagement, though, I would have to give that to the Browns because you have a two-time coach of the year. You have a defensive player of the year that wants to be traded. You had your number one overall pick, Baker Mayfield, and you let him go, and you see what he's doing in Tampa. And then you gave Deshaun all this money to a terrible contract, and now you're in, salary cap hell. So I would have to give the mismanagement of a whole roster to the Browns.
I hear you, Anthony, and you join T-Bar to just tweet me at Ryan_Hickey3, and I'll explain here why I would have the Bengals over the Browns. He said basically the same thing. Bengals, most mismanaged team, and thank you for the call, Anthony. Browns, hold my beer. Here's why I think the Bengals to me right now are more mismanaged than the Browns. A few reasons. Number one, for the fault of the Browns, at least to their credit, over the last few years, they've drafted well. They've hit on the draft. A lot of the players they have that they have paid second contracts to they've gotten out of the draft. We've talked about the Bengals. They have not drafted well. They got Joe Burrow. They got Jamar Chase. They paid him a lot of money or are going to pay a lot of money. You need to be able to draft well, and they've had a lot of misses, especially the last few years here, where they've not gotten key contributors out of the NFL draft when they have to. That's number one. Number two, the Deshaun Watson deal has been an absolute failure, right? And it's the reason why they are entering a rebuild. And they've, like you said, Anthony, put them in salary cap hell, 100% right about that. Where I'll give the Browns credit is at least they took a swing. They said money is no object. We're going to try here and take a chance. It failed. It failed miserably. It failed as bad as it possibly could have failed. That's the worst trade in NFL history, the worst contract in NFL history. But I'll give the Browns credit of they did not allow money to be an object. Where you look at Cincinnati, their cheapness in waiting to pay Jamar Chase and waiting to pay Trey Hendrickson has put them in a position where they went from Super Bowl contender. They were right there. They were 2 plays away from winning a Super Bowl. They went from right there, that close, barely out of the reach of the Lombardi, to now their cheapness forcing them to trade right in the prime of his career a stud defensive end. And they're about to possibly double down and pay 2 receivers big-time money at a position that they don't really need to do that to. Allocate resources elsewhere that they're failing to recognize. To me, that's mismanagement. Allowing money to ruin a Super Bowl contender is worse mismanagement than taking a swing on a quarterback and having it completely fail. That's, at least for me, why I have the Bengals right now over the Browns in terms of just the most mismanaged team in the AFC. 855-212-4227. Let's go to Green Bay. Steve is there. What's up, Steve?
Hey, Ryan. What's up?
Chilling, man. What's on your mind?
Well, first you started with Joe Burrow, and I was going to defend the guy because, you know what? Like you said, he was willing to rearrange his contract and everything. Right. I remember a certain quarterback in Green Bay, Brett Favre, who said, "Hey, bring Randy Moss to Green Bay. I'll redo my contract. I'll do anything." Mm-hmm. He didn't care about the money. He wanted to win. And that's what I like about Joe Burrow. Right. They are mismanaged. But the thing you were saying about Jordan Love is, you remember, the guy started out the season with an MCL sprain, then he went through a groin pull.
Yep.
And if anybody's ever had a groin pull, they know how painful one of those son of a guns are. So I was just saying, that can throw when you're backing up and you're throwing, it can really,
Wait, no, I get it. An injury definitely has something to do with it, Steve. But now, again, with the small sample size we have, right, at Jordan Love, you already paid him. And even coming out of Utah State, there was not much film coming out there. It was a project. Like, you're still looking at a majority of his career being more bad than good or more uncertain than good. If 2025 is a repeat.
I just want to say, Ryan, you saw what he was capable of in the first season he started.
Well,
he was
Steve,
on
you
fire.
saw it the first half, he was not good. Now, I'm not saying that's the first year starter, you getting your footing under you and kind of get used to the speed of the league. But let's not pretend the last 10 games he was very good. And that's, again, where the promise is. But we're still a year and a half later, we're talking about a 10-game stretch. That's it. That's where I feel like he has something to prove here in 2025 to prove that 10-game stretch at the end of the 2023 season was who he truly is. And not just a blip on the radar or just a hot streak where he got lucky.
Yeah, well, one last thing. When they brought in Josh Jacobs, they started running the ball a hell of a lot more than they did, his first starting season. So, and a lot of people said it around here, is we're running the ball so much that he kind of got out of sync with throwing his...
I cut up there, Steve. I think running the ball, to me, I think that only helps Jordan Love, not hurts him. Look at Jalen Hurts. They ran the ball a ton in Philly. But good quarterbacks, whether you're throwing the ball 15 times a game, when you have to throw the ball, you make the throws. Jalen Hurts made the throws. He didn't make a ton of throws a game because they didn't ask him to, but when he had to, he did it. And so I think I'm not going to buy the Josh Jacobs excuse of, they ran the ball too much. I think it only helps Jordan Love. If you have a run threat and now defenses have to commit 7 guys in the box, 8 guys in the box because Josh Jacobs is just pounding them into the ground, that opens up the passing game, not takes away from it. So again, I think that's another reason. I didn't mention this, but thank you for kind of bringing it up, Steve, of just Jordan Love needs everything he needs, or everything he needs, I should say, is there for the most part. Again, I think the Packers should trade for DK Metcalf, get a number 1 receiver in there. Outside of a consistent number 1 guy, he's got what he needs. He has a complimentary run game to take some pressure off. He's got good coaching. Now it's on him to go out there and be consistent, which is something he has struggled with for most of his career so far. 855-212-4227, 855-212-4227. It's Ryan Hickey with you right here on the Infinity Sports Network. We'll continue to take your thoughts here. It's gotten fun bouncing back and forth between the quarterback that needs to prove it the most and the Bengals. Are they the most mismanaged team right now in all of the AFC? We'll get your thoughts on that. And also when we return, speaking of the Bengals, now that Trey Hendrickson is available via trade, I'll tell you the team that is the happiest, or benefits the most, I should say, by that news. We'll do that after we get this latest sports update from Marco Belletti.
Infinity Sports Network. Sports Flash.
All right, Trey Hendrickson's looking to get paid, and for the second straight year, he's requesting a trade. This time, the Bengals are giving him permission to do so. 30-year-old has 35 sacks in the last 2 years combined, more than any other player in the NFL. Elsewhere, the Texans have acquired wideout Christian Kirk from the Jaguars in exchange for a seventh-rounder. Jacksonville also saved nearly $6 million on the cap by releasing two-time Pro Bowl tight end Evan Ingram. 10-time Pro Bowler, 13-year vet Bobby Wagner back to Washington on a one-year deal. Browns, they saved $36 million on the cap by restructuring the contract for Deshaun Watson, who's expected to miss significant time this year after he tore his Achilles twice. NBA, 8 straight wins for the Lakers as they survived the Knicks in overtime, 113-109. Luka Doncic, 32 with 12 assists. LeBron James, 32 with 12 rebounds. Knicks also lost Jalen Brunson to an injured ankle in the overtime after he put in 39 points. Meanwhile, Kobe White with a huge night for the Bulls.
Kobe walks over the midcourt line. Kobe has been the main man tonight, no question. Kobe White driving right angle, flips it up and in with the right hand, off the window. The Magic simply cannot compete with Kobe White, who has 44.
Kobe White finished with those 44s. The Bulls outlast the Magic 125-123. Call courtesy of the Bulls Radio Network. Elsewhere, the Celtics dominate the Sixers 123-105 behind 35 from Jason Tatum, while Steph Curry just put on a show in Brooklyn.
Draymond to Steph, corner three in the air. Duchisimo! Buenos, and he does the old night-night. Buenas noches, Brooklyn.
40 points in all for Steph Curry. Warriors rallied from 22 down. They upend the Nets 121-119. Call courtesy of the Warriors Radio Network. Rest of your scores: the Rockets too much for the Pelicans 109-97, and the Hawks got 22 points and 16 assists from Trae Young. Dumped the Pacers 124-118. College hoops, 8th-ranked Michigan State rallied by Iowa 91-84. Hockey, the Avalanche dominate the Sharks 7-3. Stars outlast the Flames 3-2 in overtime. Predators 5, Kraken 3. Hurricanes up at the Bruins 3-2. Jets erased the Flyers 4-1. Edmonton survived Montreal 3-2 in OT. Panthers shut down the Blue Jackets 3-0. Lightning outscored the Sabres 6-5. Utah doubled the Red Wings 4-2. I'm Marco Belletti.
This is Maggie Gray for the Maggie and Perloff Show. Get all your sports talk here on the Infinity Sports Network. Always available on the free Odyssey app.
You're in a 5-minute break. Four minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Four minutes remaining. Three minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Three minutes remaining. 2 minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Two minutes remaining. One minute, 30 seconds remaining. One minute remaining. Forty-five seconds remaining. Thirty seconds remaining. Fifteen seconds. Break ends in 5 seconds.
It is Ryan Hickey with you right here on the Infinity Sports Network. Thank you for joining us here and making us a part of your morning. I'm in trouble. I just was in the break eating pretzels from Whole Foods. I had never been to Whole Foods in my life, but we have one right by my apartment. My girlfriend goes a lot, so one day I went with her recently and got these pretzels. They are delicious. The problem is the Whole Foods by me here in New York City is an absolute maze. It's like a true corn maze. You go up one escalator, kind of get out. There's no rhyme or reason of why certain foods next to others. It's all these windy, long hallways that twist and turn. To get downstairs, there's only one way to get up, one way to get down, and like the escalator going down is hidden all the way in this back corner, and like you have to turn a hard right. You can't see it. There's no signs for it. I literally had to ask someone. I was trapped, I felt like. Ask him and had to kind of almost direct me to where this escalator is. The pretzels are so good. I just don't know right now if I could go back into that store alone and be able to get my way out. It sounds dramatic, but it truly is a corn maze. I'm a big Trader Joe's guy, and the one of the best things about Trader Joe's, outside of the prices and the food, just delicious, is the fact that it's all organized. Up one aisle, down the next. Up one aisle, down the next. Exits and entrances on either side of the building, so you kind of know where you are at all times. It's impossible to get lost there. You go to Whole Foods, and all of a sudden, I'm like, is it up? Is it down? How do I get up? Where the hell is it down? It is. And then there's like a middle tier as well. And in between the first and the second level, like this middle tier where it's like a cafe. You can get some hot food, but also you could do Amazon returns. No idea how to get the hell in there. It's a mess. So I guess I got to put my big boy pants on with my girlfriend away this weekend and figure out how to get in and get out. I'll give Whole Foods credit here. This is a free sponsor for them, free plug for them. Pretzels. Fire. It is Ryan Hickey right here on the Infinity Sports Network. Speaking of fire, if you are one GM that should be fired up about the developments going on in Cincinnati is Brandon Beane in Buffalo. Because what is happening is I think the Bills need to make a big splash this offseason, and that's at defensive end. They need a game-wrecking defensive end on their team to help them get over the hump. And what is going on in Cincinnati, what is going on in Cleveland is making it easier and simultaneously driving down the price of getting one of these big-time elite edge rushers to Buffalo. 2 guys now in the prime of their careers, at the peak of their production, on the trade block available to be gotten. And there's a lot of teams that need an edge rusher. About 3/4 of the league could use one. So the market's going to be very crowded, a lot of competition. But if you're Brandon Beane now, number one, your chances of getting that elite defensive end just doubled. And I think the price does go down because now it's not just Myles Garrett or bust. Now with the second option, you can see what the price of a Trey Hendrickson trade is, what Cincinnati would get, and leverage that to maybe lower the price of a Myles Garrett offer. Either way, you're not being held up and held at ransom, essentially, by Cleveland to ask for the earth, the moon, and the stars in order to get Myles Garrett. It's still going to be, trust me, it's going to be a very heavy price. You have to pay for either one. But I think now when you add more supply to the market, I think, again, it kind of lowers the price a little bit. So I think there's no team right now that's happier to see the developments going on in Cincinnati about Trey Hendrickson being on the trade block than the Buffalo Bills. It's funny, just last month, Brandon Beane was actually talking to the media, and he talked about specifically trying to get a game-wrecking defensive end on his team. Take a listen.
I don't know many teams are going to hand you a Chris Jones or a game wrecker. We'll turn over every stone we can to find them, but would I love to add one of those guys? Heck yeah, I would.
And the Bills need it because if you go to their playoff losses here, there's a trend. Starting in 2020 when really Josh Allen kind of hit his peak. The last 5 playoff losses for the Bills, they have combined for just 6 sacks. They have struggled in every single one of their playoff games in terms of getting after the quarterback consistently. You get Myles Garrett, you get Trey Hendrickson, that problem severely or extremely, that's a better way to phrase it, extremely alleviated. I think the Bills got to get it done. You have to land one of these 2 guys if you're Buffalo, either Garrett or Hendrickson, make it happen. And I think you, along with now a questionable offensive line in Kansas City, you give yourself the best chance you've ever had in the Josh Allen era of getting to the Super Bowl. 855-212-4227. 855-212-4227. It's Ryan Hickey right here on the Infinity Sports Network, talking 2 big things this hour. The quarterbacks with the most to prove this season, and are the Bengals the most mismanaged team in the NFL, as now they are forced to put Trey Hendrickson on the trade block because they can't afford him because they have to overpay other stars on their team to keep him when they should have paid him a lot earlier than they did. 855-212-4227. Let's go to Joe in Jacksonville. What's up, Joe?
Yeah, I think your list is pretty good, but we need to look at Trevor Lawrence. He's the guy who's come into the league, number 1 overall pick, generational talent. The other guys on your list, Tua has shown us with the stats, I think Jordan Love's body of work, we need a little bit more time with him. And geez, Brock Purdy, being picked so low in the draft and doing what he's done, I think Trevor Lawrence is the guy.
The reason why, Joe, Trevor Lawrence did not make my list is in part because, at least for 2025, right, I think all these, the 3 quarterbacks on my list, Tua, Jordan Love, and Brock Purdy, they are in positions to have success, right? I think it's determined upon them if they actually do it. For 2025, Joe, I don't think Trevor Lawrence is in a position, and I appreciate the call, buddy, just because you look at that offense, they just got rid of basically any talented pass catcher outside of Brian Thomas Jr. on their roster. Their offensive line is a mess and needs an overhaul. And I don't know how good Liam Cohen is as a head coach. The year he just had in Tampa was by far the best year of his coaching career. Every other stop, he's been bouncing around, getting fired from places. Like, he's not exactly a sure thing at head coach. So,
ball.
Oh, God, it gives me it's like a month later, it gives me the chills hearing that. And
Ball.
picturing the face of him doing it. Oh, boy. Oh, boy. But it's like, is he a good coach? I don't know. Does Trevor Lawrence have talent on the offense? I don't think so. I think he needs some help around him. You're right. He's been a disappointment, Joe, in the sense of he was labeled a generational talent. He's absolutely not that. He's a quarterback who does need help around him. I just don't think he has that help right now in Jacksonville to where I don't expect much from him, at least in 2025. Let's go to Matt in North Carolina. What's up, Matt?
Hey, good morning.
Morning, man. What's on your mind?
Hey, with the Bengals, yeah, I agree. They're terribly managed, and I don't think Joe Burrow signs another contract with that team. He's been Mr. Nice Guy, but eventually, not getting the pieces around where he can win. He can put up all the stats in the world, but it's going to probably cost Zach Taylor his job if they don't make the playoffs or they keep losing. And then they'll go get another cheap coach because they're a cheap franchise. They won't pay their stars like you've mentioned. And they put their money, they're putting all this money in the wide receivers. Defense is kind of important last year.
You ain't kidding about that, Matt. I got to run here, buddy. I appreciate the call and the perspective. And you're right. It's just like, I think the point you bring up is valid. Like, that's now the next fear. Now, I mean, Burrow just on the contract, so he's there for a while, but like, I mean, you blow this up and you really can't get a winner again in Cincinnati. If you're Joe, why resign? Oh, man. This is going to have far-reaching implications if you're the Bengals. You just hope you can get it right, but right now they are giving you no indication, no reason to have faith that they're going to figure it out anytime soon here and make the most of Joe Burrow's prime. That'll do it for this edition of the show. Big thank you to People Lottie doing an excellent job producing as always. A big thank you to you. Thank you for making us a part of your Friday. Have a great weekend. If you like what you heard, it's Ryan Hickey. Check me out every single Sunday night right here on the Infinity Sports Network, 10 p.m. Eastern to 2 a.m. It is Hick at Night. Night spelled N-I-T-E. Do not go anywhere. Maggie Perloff got you covered here on the Infinity Sports Network. Have a great Friday. Have a great weekend. This has been Ryan Hickey. We'll talk to you Sunday night right here on the Infinity Sports Network.
Duval.
You're in a 5-minute break.